Family Immortal Cultivation. Starting as a spiritual farmer, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726 News about the creation Purple Cloud Pill. A few days later. Not long after Ling Pengyun and Yan Xie left the territory of Yuan State, they were planning to cross a barren land stretching for millions of miles. Ling Pengyun's expression changed slightly. He turned his head and looked behind him. He immediately found a green light chasing him. He was very familiar with the aura of this light. It was the Ping Dao Ren who had exchanged the broken yuan grass with him before. In addition, behind Ping Dao Ren, there were 3 masked monks whose auras were at least the 3rd level of Jinden. There was even a 5th level Jinden monk. Judging from the situation, Ping Dao Ren might be caught up soon. Ambush. Does Ping Dao Ren have a tracking secret method for those spiritual herbs he gave? Ling Pengyun frowned. Immediately, he took out a large amount of spiritual medicine that he had traded with Ping Dao Ren before, searched carefully, and found nothing unusual. He frowned even more. Ping Dao Ren's cultivation was only the 2nd level of Jinden. With his spiritual sense, he could easily see through the tracking secret method set up by a monk of this level. It's a coincidence that this Taoist Ping came to me and my wife. At this time, the Taoist Ping, who was being chased by 3 masked monks, sent a voice message to Ling Pengyun. Dao Ao, I am the elder of Fu Ai and Xianzong. Please help me. Afterwards, I will definitely reward you generously. Ling Pengyun's eyes trembled slightly when he heard this. Fu Ai and Xianzong is one of the 3 strongest Xianzongs among the righteous Yuanying forces in the northern wilderness Xiuxin world. There are many Yuanying engines in it. The foundation of the Tao is the talisman. The way of talismans is also popular in its sect, and there is even a 4th level talisman master in charge. At the same time, this sect, like Ai and Xianzong, is located in the territory of Wuguo, the only superior Xiuxin country in the northern wilderness Xiuxin world. I didn't expect that this 3rd level spiritual plant husband is from the Fuayan Immortal sect. Ling Pengyun said to himself, and then looked at the 3 Jinden cultivators chasing the Taoist Ping with a hint of deep meaning. As soon as they met Taoist Ping, they introduced themselves. I think the 3 people had been told their identities by Taoist Ping a long time ago, but they still dared to take the risk of offending the Fuayan Immortal sect and attack Taoist Ping. It seems that Taoist Ping has something that the 3 Jinden cultivators want to get regardless of life and death. I don't know what it is. Golden elixir spiritual objects? It shouldn't be possible, but a large number of high-level spiritual plants? It is somewhat possible. I just don't know if the ambush in front of me is fake. Thinking of this, he smiled knowingly, and the worries in his heart dissipated. The 3 cultivators chasing Taoist Ping could hardly threaten his and Yan Xie's lives. Even if the Taoist Ping of the 2nd level of Jinden was included, it would be the same. At this time, Yan Xie, who was standing by, also asked Ling Pengyun with doubts. My husband, do you want to help this person? Of course I want to help. A 3rd level spiritual plant husband is rare, and a spiritual plant husband from a large sect like Fu Ai and Xianzong is even more extraordinary. Ling Pengyun said with a smile, and then he sent a voice message to the Taoist Ping who flew over from tens of thousands of miles away with a smile. The 3 cultivators who chased the Taoist friend are all of high cultivation. If you want us to help, it will be difficult to rely on the Fu Ai and Xianzong behind you. Tens of thousands of miles away, the Taoist Ping who was escaping for his life heard this, and a trace of anger suddenly appeared on his face, and 4 words appeared in his mind: take advantage of the fire to rob. But now he is in danger, and within a million miles, he has only found the 2 couples in front of him who have traded poison grass. Yes, he has mastered a special spiritual plant secret method. As long as he has cultivated a spiritual plant, he can sense it within a million miles. In order to grab the life-saving straw of Ling Pengyun and his wife, and knowing that Ling Pengyun was more eager for Po Yuan grass through the previous transaction, he also seized this point and replied to Ling Pengyun and Yan Xie through voice transmission. 2 Taoist friends, I have planted 2 quasi 3rd level Po Yuan grass and a quasi 3rd level purple cloud flower that can be used to refine the Pozan Baodan and the creation purple cloud pill in the spiritual field of the sect. As long as the 2 Taoist friends can help me, After those spiritual medicines are mature, I will find someone to refine the treasure pills. I can at least sell 2 third-level inferior Po Yuan pills and 1 third-level inferior creation purple cloud pill to the 2 Taoist friends. I can swear on this matter. Then, the Taoist Ping began to swear in detail to guarantee that the words about the spiritual medicine were true. After hearing this, Ling Pengyun was sure in his heart that the Taoist Ping might have left tracking objects among those spiritual medicines, but he didn't find it. Otherwise, why would this Taoist Ping mention something else but the spiritual object he longed for, the Po Yuan grass? However, Yan Siai, who was standing by, was delighted, and her eyes became hot. The creation purple cloud pill is a famous miasma-breaking pill, and its efficacy is at least 1 or 2 times that of the ordinary miasma-breaking pill Po Yuan pill. In addition, this pill is even rarer than the Po Yuan pill of the same level. At least in the territory of Yan State, the 3rd-level inferior creation purple cloud pill has not appeared for at least 500 years. And this pill is so rare, naturally, like the Po Yuan pill, because its main medicine, the purple cloud flower, is rare. The purple cloud flower has extremely high requirements for the growth environment and only grows in the special 3rd-level wood spirit field. Moreover, the bottleneck of this flower's realm is extremely solid. Even with the help of the 3rd-level spiritual plant husband, there is only a 20% to 30% chance of entering the 3rd-level realm, and the growth time required during this period is as long as 500 years, which is about 200 years longer than the time required for ordinary spiritual medicines to enter the 3rd level. The most important point is that it is extremely difficult to breed spiritual seeds from this flower. At least a 3rd-level high-quality spiritual plant husband needs to use the corresponding secret method to have a chance to breed spiritual seeds from this flower. This also makes the spiritual seeds of this flower rare on the market. Without the seeds of this flower, it is naturally difficult to cultivate this flower. Only those Yin-Yang forces have a chance to cultivate purple cloud flowers. Yan Siai also knows that the Taoist Ping is a 3rd-level spiritual plant husband. She is more convinced that the Taoist Ping can have such a quasi-3rd-level purple cloud flower. And if the Taoist Ping can really cultivate the purple cloud flower to the 3rd level, and find someone to refine the creation purple cloud pill and sell it to her, she will also be able to try to break through the bottleneck in front of her before the monster beast chaos and break through to the 4th level of the golden pill. In this way, she can also face the monster beast chaos in the near future with more confidence. However, although she didn't want to miss this opportunity, she didn't dare to make her own decision in front of such a big event. Instead, she looked at her husband Ling Pengyun and waited for Ling Pengyun's decision. Ling Pengyun felt the gaze, turned his head, and looked at his wife Yan Siai, and said lightly, "Madam, wait a moment." Then, he sent a voice message to the Taoist Ping again. "Sell me 2 more miasma-breaking pills. In addition, I think you know my identity, and you are a 3rd-level spiritual plant husband. I have guessed that you can master spiritual medicines such as purple cloud flower. I think you should have a lot of common 3rd-level low-grade spiritual medicines such as jade grass. I happen to know a 3rd-level spiritual plant husband with a high success rate. I want to establish a transaction with you on refining jade pills. Is it possible?" This request was not high. Taoist Ping hesitated for a moment, and he followed suit. "We'll talk about it later. Please hurry up, fellow Taoists." Ling Pengyun smiled and said to Yan Siai, "Madam, let's do it together." Yan Siai smiled brightly when she heard this. She followed Ling Pengyun and went to meet Taoist Ping to help him. Taoist Ping, who was originally worried, felt relieved. But the 3 masked giant monks who were chasing Taoist Ping all looked pale when they saw Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai trying to help him. Ling Pengyun and his wife had been hiding their breath to avoid being chased. Therefore, their breath was still not leaked. The 3 of them could sense Yan Siai's cultivation level, which was probably the 3rd level of Jinden, which was enough for them to deal with. But they couldn't detect Ling Pengyun's cultivation level at all, as if Ling Pengyun was just a stone. You know, the 3 of them have all practiced the secret method of spiritual consciousness. The masked monk with the highest cultivation level, who was at the 5th level of the golden core, had a spiritual power as strong as the 6th level of the golden core. I guess that person is either extremely spiritually strong or a late golden core expert. Whether he is an expert or the latter, they are all extraordinary people. The masked monk at the 5th level of the golden core said secretly. Then, He did not hide his identity as an evil cultivator, and directly called out to Ling Pengyun and his wife with the help of the sound enhancement technique. My two fellow Taoists, the cultivator we are chasing has a third-level inferior spiritual fruit tree, which is of extraordinary value. He also has something worth millions of spiritual stones on him, and he even has a rare third-level inferior spiritual plant inheritance. As long as you two fellow Taoists can watch from the side and not interfere, I can share a profit with you afterwards, and you two fellow Taoists can also make a copy of the third-level inferior spiritual plant inheritance on that person. Ling Pengyun, who rushed over, suddenly realized it at this time. Although he knew that Taoist Ping had a third-level spiritual plant, he had never thought that the spiritual plant that Taoist Ping had was a spiritual fruit tree. The price of such a spiritual tree in the market was nearly $1 million. Adding the other spiritual objects on his body, this person's net worth might be as high as more than $2 million. Although the third-level low-grade spiritual plant inheritance was incomplete, it was extremely rare in the northern wilderness immortal cultivation world. If it was put on the market, it would definitely be snatched up by cultivators. Even if it was sold for 2 million spiritual stones, it would not be a problem. Carrying a property worth 4 million spiritual stones and running around alone, Taoist Ping is really bold. Ling Pengyun said inwardly. At this moment, Taoist Ping's face darkened. There was only one cultivator who knew that he had a third-level spiritual plant inheritance. It turns out to be someone from the Song family. If I had known this, I shouldn't have taken out the third-level lower-grade spiritual plant inheritance to exchange for the third-level middle-grade defensive magic weapon of the middle-level life magic weapon level in the hands of the Song family cultivator. Chapter 727, News about the inheritance of the third-level lower-grade spiritual plant. Half a day ago, when Ping Dao Ren was trading spiritual objects with a cultivator at the Li family trade fair, he took out a large number of high-level spiritual medicines as a bargaining chip. The cultivator guessed that Ping Dao Ren was a third-level spiritual plant husband. The cultivator wanted to get more third-level spiritual medicines from Ping Dao Ren, so he invited Ping Dao Ren to a small trade fair held by the Jinden Song family on the border of Yuan State. The Song family was very famous in Yuan State. It was a family of refining tools. There was even a third-level middle-grade refiner in the contemporary era. Ping Dao Ren was eager for a third-level defensive magic weapon, so he was persuaded and invited to the Song family to participate in the small trade fair. At the trade fair, a Jinden representing the Song family took out a third-level middle-grade defensive magic weapon of the middle-level life magic weapon quality for trading. This level of life magic weapon, even if it is not owned by the owner, can be used by ordinary cultivators. This treasure is at least 1 or 2 points more powerful than the ordinary third-level middle-grade magic weapon of superior quality. Taoist Ping was also very tempted by this item. It was a pity that the Song family cultivator only intended to use this magic weapon to exchange for some third-level medium and high-quality fire-type ores, in order to refine a higher-level magic weapon. Therefore, the cultivators of this clan were unwilling to participate in the trade fair and use spirit stones or other spiritual objects to buy the defensive magic weapon. In desperation, Taoist Ping had to take out the precious third-level low-grade spiritual plant inheritance that he accidentally obtained from other immortal cultivation worlds in his early years. This made the Song family cultivator excited, and he successfully exchanged for the defensive magic weapon worth up to 1 million spirit stones. In addition, the Song family also made up the difference of 1 million spirit stones and gave him 3 ordinary quality third-level low-grade defensive magic weapons, each worth about 300,000 spirit stones. Taoist Ping was happy about this matter. After all, he had enough to get 4 defensive magic weapons, and he didn't need to travel long distances to other realms and sell his property to buy defensive magic weapons in the future. But who would have thought that after the Song family trade fair ended, he was chased by the 3 Jinden behind him. Until now, he knew that the 3 Jinden chasing him were Song family cultivators. The reason why Ping Dao Ren had such a great demand for defensive magic weapons was because Ping Dao Ren had always pursued the way with the word stability. The monster chaos was coming again. At that time, the Fuyan immortal sect, one of the best in the righteous path, would also need to resist the 2 Yuanying monsters in the boundless vast lake for the righteous path, and guard against the sneak attacks of the demon cultivators in the eastern demon realm. At that time, the Fuyan immortal sect would also go all out to fight the enemy. Except for some alchemists and weapon refiners who did not need to go to the front line, the rest of the cultivators would need to participate in the war. Although Ping Dao Ren was a spiritual plant husband, it was no problem for him to temporarily leave the spiritual plants that needed to be cultivated for a few years, so he was also among the people forced to participate in the war by the sect. It was for this reason that he, a spiritual plant husband who had stayed in Fu Ain Xianzong for many years to take care of spiritual plants, went out to buy defensive magic weapons to increase the chances of survival of the monster beast chaos. In addition, all the contribution points he had left over from cultivation in these years were used to exchange for the third-level treasure talismans drawn by the talisman makers in the sect. This time, he, a second-level Jainden cultivator, was able to survive until today under the pursuit of the 3 Jainden cultivators, also relying on those third-level treasure talismans. As for handing over the third-level inferior spiritual plant inheritance to the sect, Ping Dorn also thought about it, but the sect already had a third-level spiritual plant inheritance of the middle level, and it was a complete one. There was no shortage of the third-level inferior spiritual plant inheritance in his hand. Turning it over to the sect would not bring many contribution points. That was why he kept the spiritual plant inheritance until today. After all, once he handed over this inheritance to the sect, it would be difficult for him to pass it on outside, and he would be restricted by the sect. My 2 Taoist friends, don't believe what the thief said. In order to prevent Ling Pengyun and his wife from being persuaded by the 5th-level Jainden cultivator of the Song family, Ping Dorn hurriedly explained. Hearing this, Ling Pengyun just smiled, and then he and his wife Yan Sai went straight to meet Ping Dorn. When they were close to the 10,000 li territory of the Taoist, he and Yan Sai stopped, and then they took out a number of extraordinary magic weapons and attacked the 3 Jainden Song family cultivators behind Ping Dorn. These magic weapons were extremely fast, and the 3 Song family Jainden had no intention of letting go of the fat piece of meat Ping Dorn, so they kept chasing Ping Dorn. This made them miss the opportunity to leave. When those magic weapons were thousands of miles away from them, they realized that at least half of the magic weapons that attacked them were of the 3rd-level middle grade and the 3rd-level upper grade. The Song family Jainden of the 5th Jainden looked at the attacking magic weapons, and his expression changed. Ling Pengyun of the Lingxiao Ling family of Yan stayed under the command of Xiangxing sect. Ling Pengyun has also established a lot of fame in Yuan state because of the war between good and evil. The high-level magic weapons in his hands are envied by many Jainden cultivators in the war between good and evil. This Song family Jainden of the 5th Jainden is one of them. Therefore, even if Ling Pengyun and Yan Sai have been covering their faces, he recognized Ling Pengyun's identity through those magic weapons. Then, he looked around and looked at the top-level intermediate 3rd-level upper-grade life magic weapon Zuanyang treasure lantern next to Ling Pengyun, and there was a little more greed in his eyes. As if he had made a decision, he took out a token with a hammer pattern from his storage bag, crushed it, and then quietly said to the other 2 Jainden masked cultivators beside him. I have asked the clan leader for help. This place is only a few dozen miles away from the clan. As long as we can hold off the Taoist and the couple for half a day, the clan leader will surely come over. With the clan leader's help, we will be able to destroy them and take their property and make a fortune. After saying that, he took out the magic weapon and greeted the magic weapon from Ling Pengyun and his wife. The other 2 Song family Jainden level 3 cultivators on the side also guessed that the one who shot the Zuanyang treasure lantern was the famous Ling Pengyun of Yan State. Although they also knew that the Song family leader's cultivation level was as high as the late Jainden period, they were still a little hesitant and did not dare to attack. After all, during the great war between good and evil, Ling Pengyun had the result of independently killing a late Jainden demon cultivator. His strength was extremely extraordinary and was not something that they, Jainden level 3 cultivators, could provoke. At this time, the Song family cultivator at the 5th Jainden level sacrificed all his magic weapons and took out a wide array plate and 36 array flags from his storage bag. He handed over a dozen of the array flags to the 2 fellows at the 3rd Jainden level beside him. 2 fellows, quickly follow me to block the magic weapons that are attacking, and transfer spiritual power into the array flags I gave you. Let's use this invisible array to trap Taoist Ping, Ling Pengyun and other Jainden cultivators. Seeing this, the worries of the 2 Song family cultivators at the 3rd Jainden level immediately dissipated. This 5-element array was purchased by the Song family at a great cost from the Righteous Alliance during the war between the righteous and the evil. It was made by the Xiangxing sect and was of very good quality. Even if this array does not have array tools, once it is activated with all its strength, Even a late giant and cultivator will find it difficult to break the array for a while. Then, the two Song family cultivators at the third level of the Golden Core also use their magic weapons to temporarily block the magic weapons used by Ling Pengyun and Yan Sai. They also took this opportunity to use the 36 formation flags of the Yuan formless formation. Seeing this, Ling Pengyun's eyes flashed with contempt. You dare to bring out a mere third-level medium-grade formation to embarrass yourself. You really don't know how to live or die. He raised his hand and waved it, and 36 green formation flags and a green formation plate appeared in front of him. This formation was the third-level top-grade family protection formation Qingfang Yan'ayu formation that he got from Yuan Guoqiu's family. The formation weapon of this formation was a long banner, which could attack, defend, and trap. It was an extremely good all-round formation. But precisely because of this formation was slightly weaker than other third-level top-grade formations with formation weapons in terms of attack, defense, and trapping. However, it was still 1 or 2 points stronger than ordinary formations of the same level without formation weapons. Ling Pengyun was also fond of this formation because of this, so he brought it with him. The 36 formation flags also scattered countless green formation patterns and gathered together, turning into 36 green tornadoes that were dozens of feet in size, easily trapping all the formation flags of the attacking trapped Yuan invisible formation. Level 3 top-grade formation. The face of the 5th level giant and cultivator of the Song family suddenly changed. But before he could react, Ling Pengyun took out the 3rd level top-grade lightning treasure mirror and transformed dozens of powerful divine thunders that were at least comparable to the full-strength attack of the early giant and cultivators to kill him. He and the other two Song family giantins were directly forced to use their defensive magic weapons. At this time, Ling Pengyun also greeted Yan Sai. Madam, those 3 giant and cultivators are probably not ordinary people. Go all out and fight quickly. After saying this, Ling Pengyun slapped the storage bag on his waist again, and summoned 5 demon corpses in the middle giantin period. He then took out a black armored turtle that had just entered the giantin realm from the beast bag on his waist. At this time, Yan Sai also took out 5 demon corpses in the early stage of the giantin realm from the storage bag. In an instant, 10 giant and demon corpses appeared in this world. The rich demonic energy emanating from their bodies turned the sky black, as if it had become a demon realm. The huge black armored turtle was also powerful, and it looked calm and steady even in the demon realm. Kill those 3 masked giantins in black clothes. Ling Pengyun gave the order. In just this moment, the 10 demon corpses attacked at the same time, each offering 2 or 3 magic treasures to attack. The black armored turtle roared to the sky and spit out powerful water balls. 10 demon corpses. The Song family giantin who was in the 5th level of the giantin realm suddenly looked dead. Without thinking too much, he immediately begged Ling Pengyun for mercy. Dao, today is a misunderstanding. Don't fight, don't fight. We're leaving now. We don't want the property of Taoist Ping. They all belong to you. Ling Pengyun sneered. It's too late to say it's a misunderstanding now. Then, he transferred more spiritual power into his magic weapons, making the magic weapons more fierce, and the defensive magic weapons of the 3 Song family giantin were shaken. However, in just 100 breaths, the 3 Song family giantin died tragically. Ling Pengyun was not polite and sent a giantin demon corpse to take the bodies of the 3 Song family giantin. Naturally, the property on them was also put into his bag. He also looked tens of thousands of miles to the north, and the Ping Taoist who took the opportunity to escape while he and Yan Sai were resisting the 3 Song family cultivators, and said lightly, "Friend Ping, if you take one more step forward, I will take your life within 100 breaths." This voice, with the help of magic, resounded in the air and spread over tens of thousands of miles around. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 728, Transaction with the New Ping Dao Ren. The Taoist felt a chill piercing his back, and he couldn't help but shudder. Although he had been running away, he had been using his spiritual sense to observe the battlefield situation. He had seen the strength that Ling Pengyun and his wife had just displayed. With the strength of the couple, it was indeed possible for them to kill him within 100 breaths. Without hesitation, he stopped immediately, then turned around, forced a smile on his face, and bowed politely to Ling Pengyun and Yan Sidai, who were wearing black clothes and black veils, from thousands of miles away. Thank you for your help. The conditions I agreed to are true. My 2-point grass and Zion grass are expected to mature within 4 years. At that time, I will find a third-level alchemist in my sect to help refine them into elixirs. 5 years later, you two Taoists can come to Fu Ain Xianzong to buy the 4-point pills and the Zion pill of good fortune from me. And my real Dao name is Mu Ping. When you come to my sect to find me in 5 years, tell me my Dao name. At this point, Taoist Mu Ping paused for a moment and then spoke. Two Taoists. Maple Leaf Market of the Maple Leaf Lee family still has several Jindans from my same sect waiting for me to return to the sect to handle matters. Can you let me leave first? Ling Pengyun heard this, his eyes flashed with a cold light. Taoist, are you planning to threaten me? When Master Mu Ping heard this, his heart suddenly skipped a beat. He did not dare to say another word and quickly denied it. No, you misunderstood. Ling Pengyun saw this and stopped talking about it. Instead, he said coldly, you must have forgotten that you promised me that you would trade with me for refining the third-grade inferior Juyin pill. Master Mu Ping frowned, but looking at Ling Pengyun, the extraordinary magic weapons around Yan Sidai, the 10 golden pill demon corpses, and the black armored turtle, he felt cold all over. Wushing sighed and he followed suit. When people get old, their brains are dull. I actually forgot such an important thing. Please forgive me, fellow Taoist. I am indeed a third-grade spiritual plant husband as you said, and I do plant some Juyin grass that belongs to me. Why don't you tell me how you plan to trade the alchemy? Ling Pengyun followed suit. I was born in the Lingxiao Ling family of Yan State. As a fellow Taoist, you should be able to find out the information of my clan as long as you check. And my clan has a veteran third-grade lower-grade alchemist who has a success rate of up to 60% in refining third-grade lower-grade Juyin pills. As long as you are willing to hand over the third-grade lower-grade Juyin grass you planted to the alchemist of my clan to refine it into Juyin pills, my clan can guarantee that the success rate of refining this pill will be stable at 60%, and 4 pills will be made. That is, if you entrust us to refine 10 furnaces of Juyin pills, our clan can return you 24 Juyin pills. Of course, you need to prepare the auxiliary medicines for refining this pill yourself, and you also need to pay our clan alchemist 500 spirit stones for each furnace of pills. I wonder how many third-grade lower-grade Juyin grass you can give under these conditions. When Master Mu Ping heard about such good alchemy conditions, he was a little surprised. A 60% success rate of refining a third-grade lower-grade Juyin pill is already good. The success rate of the third-level middle-grade alchemist that Master Mu Ping knew in Fu Ain Xianzong in refining the third-level lower-grade Juyin pill was just like this. In addition, generally entrusting an alchemist to refine pills can only guarantee 3 pills at most. The same is true for Master Mu Ping's friend. Of course, it is not that his friend cannot stabilize the number of pills, but that his friend also wants to extract some pill profits from it. Now, this person from the Ling family can give up some of the pill profits and increase the number of pills per furnace that needs to be handed over to his employer to 4, which is extremely rare. This person can give up so much pill refining profit, it seems that he is very confident in the refining level of his family's alchemist. And this person is willing to give up so much pill refining profit, I am afraid he is also planning to get more Juyin grass for his family's alchemist to hone his alchemy level. But this matter has nothing to do with me. If what this person said is true, maybe I can make a profit from it. Master Mu Ping secretly guessed and was delighted. Then, he asked, is the alchemy deal you mentioned true? Of course. Ling Pengyun answered and swore to ensure that it was true. Seeing Ling Pengyun like this, Master Mu Ping also agreed. Okay, I accept the alchemy deal, but the nearest batch of Jiyuan grass I planted will take about a year to mature at the fastest. By then, it is estimated that about 30 plants will mature. In the next 4 years, 2 more batches will mature, about 70 plants. Total 100 Jiyuan grass. Can you eat this batch of Jiyuan grass to refine pills? Ling Pengyun was shocked when he heard the number of Jiyuan grass. You know, since the third-level alchemist Ling Yunhong entered the third level, he has been recruited to refine the third-level low-grade Jiyuan pills, but at most he has only refined 100 furnaces. And the value of these 100 G1 grass is even greater. On the market, a third-level low-grade G1 grass is worth about 1,500 spirit stones. 100 plants equals 150,000 spiritual stones. The foundation of the third-level spiritual plant husband is indeed strong. But Ling Pengyun didn't know that this batch of Jian grass was cultivated by Master Mu Ping, a third-level spiritual plant husband, for more than 100 years. It can be said that 100 years of hard work paid off. Of course, this is just the profit that Master Mu Ping made from planting spiritual medicine on his acres of third-level spiritual fields in his spare time. If you count the profit he made from taking care of the third-level spiritual fields of the sect for nearly 100 years, it would be even more, at least hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones. This speed of earning spiritual stones is no worse than that of other 100 arts practitioners. In addition, his lifespan has been extended for nearly 50 years with the help of spiritual plants. Ling Pengyun also muttered to himself after retracting his distracting thoughts. With this batch of Jian grass, I think the grandfather will be able to improve his alchemy skills to the level of the third-grade middle grade before the monster beast chaos. Ling Yanhuang has encountered a bottleneck in alchemy. If there is a high-level alchemist to guide him, he may have a chance to break through this bottleneck, but high-level alchemists are rare. In addition, another way to solve this bottleneck is to refine more. However, the main materials needed to refine the third-grade low-grade elixir are rare, and it is difficult for the Ling family to collect much, and the other sects in Yan State do not have much either. In desperation, Ling Pengyun had to resort to this last resort. Then, he said to Master Mu Ping, 100 Jian grasses, our Ling family can naturally eat them. Master Mu Ping heard this, and a bit of joy appeared on his face. If according to the success probability and number of pills given by Ling Pengyun, he can get at least a batch of Jian pills worth 720,000 spirit stones from this alchemy transaction. And this kind of Jian pill is in great demand even in Fu Ai and Xianzong. As long as it is placed in the general affairs hall of the sect, it will be exchanged in no time. For this reason, Master Mu Ping was in a good mood and said with a smile, "Ha ha ha, good, then when my spiritual medicines are mature, I will personally deliver them to your door." The successful cooperation also made Ling Pengyun smile, and he followed suit. Okay, if you have other elixirs that you want to refine in the future, just come to find the alchemist of our clan. As long as the alchemist of our clan is sure, I will give you the most favorable price. Master Mu Ping said. Then I will not be polite, ha ha ha. Fellow Taoist, since this matter has been agreed, I will leave first. After saying that, Master Mu Ping was about to turn around and leave, but before he took a step, he heard Ling Pengyun's kind words. Wait, fellow Taoist, do you have anything else to give? The smile on Master Mu Ping's face suddenly collapsed, and he looked at Ling Pengyun, and immediately he saw that Ling Pengyun, who was dressed in black, was full of murderous aura. At this time, he knew what Ling Pengyun meant. He asked with a bitter smile on his face with a black veil. What do you want? Ling Pengyun said calmly. A third-level lower-grade spiritual plant inheritance. Let me make a copy. Of course, my Ling family has always been known for fairness. I am not robbing this time. My family has third-level spiritual talismans, weapon refining, formation, alchemy, and beast control inheritance. You can choose a third-level lower-grade inheritance to exchange for the third-level lower-grade spiritual plant inheritance in your hand. Chapter 729, Fire Dragon Sect Crisis. Sure enough, they are planning to come for my third-level lower-grade spiritual plant inheritance. Master Mu Ping was secretly helpless. At the same time, he was also a little surprised that the Ling family had so many hundred arts inheritances. Even under the command of Fu Ai and Xianzong, there were very few Jinden forces that could possess so many third-level 100 arts inheritances, no more than 5 fingers. And those Jinden forces were all powerful forces with more than a dozen Jinden cultivators. As for what Ling Pengyun said about the Ling family always being fair, it was simply bullshit. If he wanted to learn other 100 arts, he would have learned them in the sect long ago. He didn't even look down on the third-level lower-grade 100 arts inheritance in the hands of the Ling family, but if he didn't agree to this, I'm afraid the previous happy cooperation would also vanish into thin air. The bitterness on his face became more and more, and in desperation, he symbolically agreed to a third-level lower-grade alchemy inheritance. Then, he made a copy of the third-level lower-grade spiritual plant inheritance on his body and handed it to Ling Pengyun. Ling Pengyun also started to read it, and distinguished the authenticity. Seeing that the content was correct, he was also happy. The family finally has a real spiritual plant inheritance. Now those spiritual plant husbands in Nianchuan's family can also have the hope of becoming third-level spiritual plant husbands. Although he got a third-level low-grade spiritual plant inheritance through Ling Pengyun's entry into Kanglan Bahe sect as a guest official, he could not pass on that inheritance. The Ling family was originally a spiritual plant family, and there were many spiritual plant husbands in the family. And there was also a third-level spiritual plant husband seedling Ling Nianchuan. Ling Pengyun did not want his family members to join Kanglan Bahe sect as guest officials in the future, and form more cause and effect cycles with this sect, leading to trouble in the future. Therefore, in recent years, the Ling family has actually been searching for the third-level spiritual plant inheritance, but unfortunately this inheritance is rare, so the Ling family has never found it. With his distracting thoughts recovered, Ling Pengyun wanted to avoid Master Mu Ping being forced to take out the spiritual plant inheritance and have a different mind, and then take revenge. He also forced this person to swear to guarantee that this transaction was not against his will, and that he would not harm the Ling family and the Ling family members in the future. After everything was completed, he also asked Master Mu Ping. Since the matter of Taoist fellow's inheritance has been settled, it is time to talk about the three Song family Jindan who acted as GXIU. I believe Taoist fellow has some guesses about this matter. As for the Song family, how do you plan to deal with it? As early as when Ling Pengyun collected the bodies of the three evil cultivators, he had already checked the faces of the three evil cultivators and their belongings, and he also learned that the three evil cultivators were Song family Jindan. When Master Mu Ping heard about the Song family, he was a little angry, but when he thought of his own strength, he was helpless. The Song family's evil cultivators are dead, and I can't destroy the Song family with my own strength. The Monster Beast Rebellion is approaching, and the Fuyan Immortal sect where I am is not in a good position to take action against the Song family under the command of the Yuanying family Li family. Let's just forget about this matter. You two just pretend you don't know. And if the remaining Jindan of the Song family finds the two Taoist friends, I believe that with your strength, you can easily resolve it. At worst, after the Monster Beast Rebellion, I will report this to the sect. I think the sect will also take action for me due to the factor of the spiritless Monster Beast Rebellion to deter the villains. Ling Pengyun heard this and nodded lightly, and didn't say more about it. As for whether the Song family would retaliate, he didn't care at all. If he wanted, he could go directly to the Song family mountain gate with Yan Sai at this moment. It's just that there is no good excuse. This time, it was not him and Yan Sai who were intercepted and killed by the three Song family Jindan cultivators, but Mu Ping's Henrun. Since Master Mu Ping was unwilling to pursue the Song family, he, who could only be regarded as a bodyguard hired by Master Mu Ping, naturally had no other intentions. Then, he spoke. Then fellow Taoist, come with us back to my Ling family to get the third-level lower-grade alchemy inheritance. Master Mu Ping's body trembled and said, Fellow Taoist Ling, you are too polite. I have some urgent matters. The Yan kingdom where the nobles are located is far away from here. I will take it away when I go to the Ling family to deliver the Julian grass in 2 years. I will leave first. After saying that, he also looked at Ling Pengyun. Seeing Ling Pengyun nodded, he turned around and quickly left this area. And Ling Pengyun also left here with Yan Sai and returned to the family. He planned to put the useful things obtained from this trip to Yuan Kingdom in the family first for the use of the family members. In this way, the family members can also be promoted before the Monster Beast Chaos, which will also benefit the family. Half a day later, a beam of light quickly slid across the sky and stopped at the place where Ling Pengyun and others had fought with the three evil cultivators of the Song family. A middle-aged strong man 8 feet tall appeared. If Ling Pengyun were here, he would definitely recognize this man as Song Changhe, the patriarch of the Song family of Yuan State who was in the late Jindan stage. Seeing that there were no traces of cultivators here, Song Changhe used some blood left by the three evil cultivators of the Song family to perform the blood soul searching technique. Through this technique, the person who killed the owner of the blood can be found. However, this technique also has its shortcomings. It can only be sensed if the murderer is within 300,000 miles. Ling Pengyun and his wife had already gone far away, so this technique naturally had no effect. At this time, Song Changhe's face was also full of worry. Baekwan and the other three are all dead, and the third-level spiritual plant husband has disappeared. If the third-level spiritual plant husband knows that Baekwon and the other three are from my Song family, I'm afraid my Song family will suffer. Baekwon and the other three are really sinful. They have already exchanged the third-level spiritual plant inheritance, but they are still greedy for the rest of the property on the spiritual plant husband. That's all good now. It's a relief that these three evildoers are dead, but my Song family will live in dire straits. When he thought of Song Baekwon's three greedy Jinden clan members, he was so angry that his teeth itched. Everyone knows that in the northern wilderness cultivation world, cultivators who can become third-level spiritual plant husbands are basically from big families. Song Changhe, the head of the Song family, is afraid of revenge from the forces behind the third-level spiritual plant husband. Song Changhe could not change the situation, so he sighed helplessly and left the area. He quickly returned to the Song family and secretly sent the golden elixir seedlings or the members with better qualifications to other great countries of cultivation. He stayed in the Song family, waiting for the revenge that might come. If the spiritual plant husband from a powerful family led people to take revenge, he left. Afterwards, the spiritual plant husband would definitely not want to see him alive, and might lead people to search for him in the northern wilderness immortal cultivation world. By then, the geniuses of the Song family who were hiding in other great countries of cultivation would have no way to survive. If he did not leave, the members of the Song family who were sent out by him might have a chance to survive. Moreover, with him in charge of the Song family, perhaps this difficulty could be resolved. Song Changhe, the head of the Song family, also spent every day in worry. Northern Wilderness Immortal Cultivation World. The Mingshu Sea Area, one of the two major sea areas under the command of the Yuanying sect Mingshu sect. Deep in the Fire Dragon Island, the home of the Fire Dragon sect, which has just become a Jinden force and is relatively famous in recent years, a late-stage foundation building cultivator ran out of a cave with a panicked look on his face and headed straight for the cave with the richest spiritual energy on the island. When he arrived, he knocked on the door. Soon, the door opened by itself. The late-stage foundation building cultivator also immediately entered the cave. At this time, Ling Pengyun, wearing a red Taoist robe with fire dragon patterns and a fierce look between his eyebrows, also came up from a quiet training room. The late-stage foundation building cultivator who came to find Ling Pengyun bowed to him, and then said hurriedly with a worried look on his face, "Master, the eldest senior brother who is stationed in Qingshi Island, the easternmost part of our Huojiao sect and closest to Jinyang sect's territory, came here quickly, saying that Jinyang sect has led people to attack Qingshi Island again. But this time is different from the past. This time, Jinyang sect has sent nearly 3,000 cultivators, and even the great elder of Jinyang sect, who is in the Sudodan realm, has been dispatched. I'm afraid that this time Qingshi Island will be lost. The nearly 1,000 sect cultivators of the eldest senior brother stationed on Qingshi Island may also be in danger of their lives. Qingshi Island is also the second great superior spiritual vein that our sect spent a lot of money to upgrade last year. Once that place is lost, with the sect's current wealth, it will be difficult to cultivate a second great superior spiritual vein in the east of the sect's territory in a short period of time to arrange high-level formations to resist the invasion of Jinyang sect. By then, I'm afraid that many of the spiritual veins in our sect's territory will be robbed by the Jinyang sect. Master, what should we do now?" Chapter 730, Live Up to Mina's Expectations. Hearing this, Ling Pengyun's brows became even more ruthless, and his face suddenly darkened. This damn Jinyang sect is really used to bullying my Hulong sect. It's only been 2 years, and they are planning to attack my Hulong sect again. This time, if we give in again, the other two Jinden clans in our sect, the Tang family and the Z family, who have not yet taken action and are watching, will definitely take a bite at this time. There is no way to avoid it. Let's fight. Call all the cultivators in our sect to follow this sect master to support Qingshi Island. Even if Qingshi Island has been occupied, we will take it back, kill some cultivators of Jinyang sect, and weaken the prestige of Jinyang sect. The late foundation building cultivator heard this, and his face became more worried. Master, you are the only Jinden in our sect, but Jinyang sect has 2 Jindens Henrun. Once you appear on the battlefield, the 2 Jinden from Jinyang sect will probably appear as well. Master, why don't you go find your good friend Baekhyun's Henrun to help? Not long after the Fire Dragon sect was established, It was targeted by the three surrounding forces, the Tang family, the Zi family, and the Yin-Yang sect. Among them, the most powerful Yin-Yang sect, which had a giant and mid-stage cultivator, a giant and early-stage cultivator, and a fake Dan realm cultivator, was the most rampant. As early as 3 years ago, it sent cultivators to secretly occupy some of the spiritual veins under the Fire Dragon sect that bordered it. At that time, Ling Pengyun had been forbearing because of his concern for the strength of this sect. However, this move made the Yin-Yang sect more and more arrogant. This sect could not help but slowly encroach on the spiritual veins of the Yin-Yang sect's territory, but directly send a large number of cultivators pretending to be evil cultivators to kill into the Yin-Yang sect's territory and occupied more than 100 spiritual veins in a row. You know, the Fire Dragon sect only has more than 500 spiritual veins. At that time, in order to stop the loss in time, Ling Pengyun found his good friend Baiqian Liudao, who is a casual cultivator of Jiangdan, and worked together with him to resist the Yin-Yang sect from sending troops to attack the Huojiao sect again. However, it was difficult to take back the 100 spiritual veins occupied by the Yin-Yang sect. As a result, the number of spiritual veins of the Huojiao sect dropped sharply to about 400, and the annual income gradually decreased. Ling Pengyun's eyebrows became more solemn and he said, "Don't worry, I'm sure. The injuries that fellow Baiqian suffered 2 years ago when he helped our sect fight with the great elder Jinpo Senrin of the Yin-Yang sect have not recovered to this day, and his lifespan has been greatly reduced. Even if I go to find him, he may not come to help. This disaster can only be overcome by our Huojiao sect on our own." After the cultivator in the late stage of foundation building sighed helplessly, he said no more, took his leave and left the place, and went to gather the disciples of the Huojiao sect. But Ling Pengyun also fell into sorrow. It's really hard to lead a force. If we can't hold out in this battle, we should ask for help from the clan. When he thought of this, he felt a little reluctant. He has been a famous fire magic genius in the Ling family since he was a child. People have always sought his help. Now, he can only ask the family for help. He is somewhat embarrassed. He feels that this is to admit to the family that he is not capable enough and it is difficult for him to open a branch for the family. At this time, the storage bag on his waist suddenly flashed a spiritual light. Seeing this scene, his expression moved slightly, and he immediately patted the storage bag on his waist and summoned a third-level communication mirror from it. As he transferred spiritual power into it, the faces of Ling Pengyun and Yan Siyi suddenly appeared on the mirror. Ling Pengyun's expression suddenly became happy. "Mina, sister-in-law, why are you all here in the boundless sea?" The communication mirror in his hand can only communicate with 1,000,000 miles of territory. Beyond this distance, it is difficult to use the communication mirror to communicate. "Are we here to buy golden elixir spiritual objects? I'm on a deserted island tens of thousands of miles south of Jialong Island. Let's meet up. I have something for you." Ling Pengyun did not hide the purpose of his trip. He smiled and said. Hearing this, Ling Pengyun hurriedly left the place and quietly left the tense atmosphere of Huojiao Island. Soon, he met Ling Pengyun and Yan Siyi on the deserted island. Ling Pengyun also asked Ling Pengyun about his recent cultivation and the situation of the Huojiao sect branch he opened as usual. Ling Pengyun also told him the truth. When Ling Pengyun learned that Ling Pengyun's cultivation had reached the peak of the second level of the golden elixir and was only one step away from the third level of the golden elixir, the situation of the Huojiao sect was not good now, etc., he laughed. "I didn't expect that the golden elixir monster would be useful so soon." Ling Pengyun, who was standing aside, heard this, but was a little confused. But at this moment, he saw Ling Pengyun take out a beast-controlling bag from his arms, and summoned out a giant shark with a body length of several dozen feet, a strong aura of the second level of the golden core, and blue skin. There was a large iron ring with a bright aura around its neck, and traces of blood kept oozing out of the iron ring. The giant shark was also staring at everyone fiercely, but it did not move at all. Instead, it looked extremely scared and stayed away from Ling Pengyun, staying still. "Is that a beast-controlling iron ring?" Ling Pengyun saw the large iron ring around the shark's neck. His eyes trembled, and he exclaimed, "Yes, I bought the thing from the Li family of the Yuan Kingdom, and it was with the help of that thing that I caught this blue water shark from the demon clan area. I have tamed this shark, and it probably knows the power of the beast taming circle. Unless it is necessary, this demon beast will not be hostile to its owner." This shark will belong to you in the future. I think, with the help of this shark, you can also resolve the current situation between the Fire Dragon sect and the Yin-Yang sect. As for the family's giant and demon corpse and beast puppet, I won't give them to you. These two demon corpses are rather special, and few forces possess them. Especially the Zuanbin demon corpse is unique to my Ling family. Once it appears in the world, I am afraid that people with ulterior motives will associate you with the family. And your 8th sister-in-law and I have even more special identities. The Yin-Yang sect alone is not enough for the two of us to take action. The matter of the Fire Dragon sect branch will be handled by you alone. I believe that with your ability, you can resolve this crisis. Ling Pengyun said with a smile. When Ling Pengyun heard this, he looked at the second-level giant and blue water shark, and his eyes suddenly lit up. With this blue water shark, the Fire Dragon sect branch also has 2 giant and combat forces sitting in, and then the Fire Dragon sect will have more confidence to fight against the Yin-Yang sect. As for the fact that the demon corpse in Ling Pengyun and his wife did not take action, he could understand it. This can only be used when there is no other choice. At the same time, he also felt Ling Pengyun's trust. My dear brother, my dear sister-in-law, you really helped me this time. My dear brother, thank you for this. I will definitely live up to my expectations. Ling Pengyun thanked. Chapter 731 3 Formations. You opened a branch here for the family, and the family should help you. You don't need to do this. These Julian pills and healing pills were made by Grandpa Yunhong in recent years. I found that Snake Demon Blood Source pill for your Fire Dragon Python. I hope it can help your Fire Dragon Python turn into a dragon faster. In a few years, I will send you 1 or 2 third-level low-grade miasma-breaking pills to help you reach the 3rd level of the golden pill. Ling Pengyun waved his hand and took out a dozen medicine bottles from his storage bag and handed them to Ling Pengyun. Ling Pengyun reached out to take the medicine bottles, and a warm feeling suddenly emerged in his heart. He was about to thank him when he saw Ling Pengyun smiling. Pengyun, since the Fire Dragon sect is in crisis now, your 8th sister-in-law and I are going to buy the golden elixir spirit objects in the Donghu Sea, which is far away from here. I will not discuss the Dao with you. I will come to find you after the purchase of the golden elixir spirit objects is completed. Ling Pengyun nodded and said, okay. Ling Pengyun also followed and left the deserted island with Yan Sidai, heading towards the largest market in the Mingshu Sea, Mingshu Market, where there is a teleportation array across the sea. After Ling Pengyun watched Ling Pengyun and Yan Sidai leave, he also fixed his eyes on the golden elixir level 2 blue water shark next to him, and his eyes flashed with a hint of murderous intent. With the help of this blue water shark, this time we must make the 3 people of Yin-Yang sect, Jin-Yang Old Dog, Jinpo Old Dog, and Jingsun Old Dog, pay some price for invading our sect's territory. At the same time, Yan Sidai, who had just left the deserted island, said to Ling Pengyun with a little worry, Husband, are we really not going to help Pengyun leave this area directly? Ling Pengyun said with a look of relief between his brows when he heard this. Pengyun is a cultivator of law, so his strength has always been strong. With his current level of cultivation, and the fact that the technique he practices is a top-notch intermediate-level nascent soul technique, the spiritual power in his golden elixir is also stronger and purer than that of ordinary cultivators. He also knows the family's intermediate-level magical spell, the Fire Wolf Swallowing the Moon, and his strength is close to that of a 4th-level golden elixir cultivator. This time, he has the help of the blue water shark. Even if he can't beat the 2 golden elixirs of the Yin-Yang sect, he can still save his life. Pengyun can hold up the sky, so we don't need to worry about him. Back then, this kid killed many demons during the battle between the Mingshu sect and the demonic force the Zuanming sect, and made great contributions. Madam, don't think too much. This kid is much stronger than you think. Yan Sidai's worries were reduced a little after hearing this, but they still existed. Ling Pengyun was the one who was detected by Ling Pengyun from the mortal world in his early years, so Ling Pengyun had a very good relationship with their family. She also had a very deep affection for Ling Pengyun and had long regarded him as her own brother. However, since her husband Ling Pengyun said so, she could only pray that Ling Pengyun would be safe. A few days later, in Qingshi Island, the easternmost island of the Fire Dragon sect, the sound of fighting resounded through the sky. The 3rd-level inferior formation on the island had long been broken. On the island, A large number of cultivators from the Fire Dragon sect and cultivators from the Yin-Yang sect were fighting each other. Every few breaths, basically one cultivator would be killed here. And thousands of miles above this island, Ling Pengyun was sitting on the back of the blue water shark of the second level of the Jinden, fighting with the 3 Jinden real people from the Yin-Yang sect. The 5 fought for a whole day, but still no one was the winner. The 4th level Jinden sect leader, Jin Yang Zhenren, looked at this scene and was even more afraid of Ling Pengyun, the leader of Hojiao sect. He knew that Ling Pengyun was not very old. I didn't expect that Hoyun Zhenren actually got a 2nd level Jinden spirit beast. Judging from his current strength, if he drags on for another 100 or several hundred years, Hoyun Zhenren's strength will probably be even more terrifying. By then, it will be even more difficult for my Jin-Yang sect to expand outward. Fortunately, I brought the formation out this time. He immediately took out 36 formation flags and formation plates, and threw the remaining dozen formation flags to Jinpo Zhenren and Jin Zhuan Zhenren, who were in the fake Dan realm. The 3 of them worked together to form a formation with an aura as high as the 3rd level upper grade, which enveloped Ling Pengyun and trapped him. Seeing this, Ling Pengyun immediately recognized the formation and felt a sense of crisis in his heart. This formation is the Golden Cloud Heavenly Gang cover, the protective formation of the Yin-Yang sect. Its grade is as high as the 3rd grade upper grade, and there is also a 3rd grade upper grade defensive formation device. It is an extraordinary defensive formation. But its attack is not weak either, at least comparable to the power of an ordinary 3rd grade upper grade formation, with the attack power of a late giant and cultivator. Old dog, you are so brave that you dare to bring even the protective sect of your sect. Aren't you afraid that the Tang family and the Z family will take the opportunity to attack your Jin-Yang sect? Ling Pengyun shouted. They dare. Jin-Yang Zhenren laughed crazily. Then, he pinched the magic formula and hit the formation plate of the formation. The formation plate flashed with spiritual light, and the formation that trapped Ling Pengyun also trembled. A golden giant sword that was more than 90 feet long and comparable to the full force of a 7th level giant and cultivator suddenly appeared and killed Ling Pengyun. What surprised Jin Yang Zhenren was that Ling Pengyun actually took out a 3rd level middle grade defense formation with a defense array device at this critical moment, and propped up a powerful defense light curtain to block the giant sword. This person actually has a 3rd level middle grade defense formation. Jin Yang Zhenren said in surprise. You know, a 3rd level middle grade defense formation with a defense array device is very valuable in the market, and can be sold for at least 200 spirit stones. The Fire Dragon sect has only been established for a few years, and its foundation is not strong at all. Even the Jin Yang sect spent nearly 1,000 years of savings to buy the Golden Cloud Xiangang formation that protected the sect. It is said that this person was originally a casual cultivator. The beast control circle between the neck of the blue water shark that person sat on is as high as the 3rd level lower grade, and its value is also extraordinary. It seems that this person has a great opportunity. If we can get it, the strength of our sect will definitely be improved by several times. Jin Yang Zhenren thought secretly. However, Ling Pengyun's 3rd level middle grade defense formation was particularly powerful because of the defense formation device. Even though the Jin-Yang Xiangang formation then fired 2 more powerful giant swords, it only barely broke Ling Pengyun's defense formation. Ling Pengyun also showed his power at this moment. He took out another formation from his storage bag. Although the grade of this formation was not as high as the previous formation, it was also at the 3rd level lower level, and there was also an attack formation device with a power comparable to that of a mid-stage giant and cultivator. Because Ling Pengyun was unexpected, he used this formation to directly blast the weakest Jin-Yang sect's fake Dan realm Jin Zhuan Zhenren into serious injuries, and Jinpo Zhenren also suffered some injuries. If Jin Yang Zhenren had helped with the Jin-Yang Xiangang formation in time, Jin Zhuan Zhenren would have been blasted to death here. As a result, Jin Zhuan Zhenren had no strength to fight again. Jinpo Zhenren's injuries were not serious, and his strength was only reduced by a few points. Ling Pengyun also took advantage of this opportunity to take out a 3rd level lower grade energy storage formation, and launched several attacks that were comparable to the full strength attacks of a mid-stage giant and cultivator. He also took out a 3rd level upper grade magic weapon King Fangkin that Ling Pengyun had seized from Yuan Guoqiu's family in the early years, and caused the Jin-Yang Xiangang formation to surge, directly scaring away Jin Yang Zhenren and Jinpo Zhenren of the 2nd level of Jinden. They didn't dare to stay for long. Previously, all the Yin-Yang sect monks who had invaded Qingshi Island were also killed by him. For a moment, the entire Qingshi Island was bathed in blood. The surviving disciples of the fire dragon sect also looked at Ling Pengyun, who was stepping on the blue water shark, in admiration. But Ling Pengyun didn't care. He looked at a void tens of thousands of miles to the east. If anyone offends my fire dragon sect again in the future, my sect will definitely kill him. After saying that, he landed on Qingshi Island. The void became distorted the next moment, and two monks appeared. If Ling Pengyun were here, he would recognize that these two people were the heads of the Tang and Zi families, the other two major giant forces around the Huojiao sect. The two families are relatives, and have been working together to resist the Yin-Yang sect for many years, and their relationship is also good. The heads of these two families are cousins, and they are relatively close to each other, and often go out together. And what Ling Pengyun said just now was also said to these two people. They looked at Qingshi Island, and there was a little more fear between their brows. At the same time, there was more greed in their hearts. This time, Ling Pengyun took out a lot of formations, and they were all of extraordinary value. The third-level top-grade King Fangkin was also of great value. But considering Ling Pengyun's strength, they also suppressed their greed in their hearts and evacuated this place at the same time. On the other side, thousands of miles away from Qingshi Island, deep in a spiritual island, in a luxurious attic, Yin-Yang's Henren was furious. Not only was the sect's fake Dan realm Jinzhuan's Henren seriously injured, he will hardly be able to fight again in the next 10 years. According to statistics, at least 3,000 low-level cultivators in the sect died tragically. You know, the disciples of Yin-Yang sect only number about 10,000. Now that 3,000 people have died at once, even Yin-Yang sect is a little overwhelmed. It will be difficult to recover without decades. Damn Hyan's Henren, in this life, I will definitely kill this man and destroy Huojiao sect. Chapter 732 Ling Qingshi's Dominance. The Boundless Sea Area, the Immortal Cultivation World. The Muigan Sea Area. Guiling Island. The Jin clan mountain was now covered with white cloth, and the atmosphere was somewhat depressing. Outside the mountain, cultivators wearing the Jin clan's uniform robes kept flying from various places to the Jin clan's ancestral temple halfway up the mountain. After a while, there were dozens of cultivators gathered here, and their cultivation was as high as the middle stage of key training. Among these cultivators, many were whispering to each other, sighing about the life contribution of the family's great elder Ling Pengyun, who is not of the same surname. It's a pity that the great elder Ling Pengyun had a brilliant life and led the patriarch of our clan to rebuild the Jin clan, but he died because he did not enter the golden elixir and his lifespan was exhausted. At the same time, at the top of the Jin clan mountain, 4 cultivators of different ages were standing here, looking at the direction of the other 2 Guiling Island Foundation building forces on Guiling Island. Among them, the middle-aged monk with a worried look on his face and a bit of a merchant's air was immersed in silence for a while, but he couldn't help but worry in his heart. He also looked at the 3 monks on the side and spoke. Brother Pengyun, young master Qingshi, Miss Fair, do we really have to take action against the remaining Liu and Zhong families on the island so quickly? The strength of these 2 families is not simple. According to my inquiries over the years, the Liu family, which already has 2 mid-stage foundation building cultivators and 1 early-stage foundation building cultivator, and the Zhong family, which has a late-stage foundation building monster and an early-stage foundation building cultivator, have been secretly purchasing foundation building spiritual objects to cultivate foundation building cultivators over the years. In this way, the combined number of real foundation building cultivators from these 2 families is probably 1 or 2 more than the number of foundation building cultivators in our Jin branch. If we fail to achieve success this time and we fall out with the Liu and Zhong families again, I'm afraid that Guiling Island will never have peace in the future. At the side, Ling Pengyun, who had the aura of the 9th level of foundation building, a hint of rotten wood on his body, a square face, and an aura as steady as a mountain, said with a smile. Brother Wan Zhuan, I remember that when you first became Mina's disciple, you were full of vigor and courage, and you dared to go to the Sea of Monsters to fight monsters as a key training cultivator. How come you have become so timid now that your cultivation has surpassed key training and even entered the middle stage of foundation building? The middle-aged man with a businessman's air was Wan Zhuan, Ling Pengyun's servant in his early years. After hearing the joke from his longtime friend, Ling Pengyun, Wang Juan said helplessly. Brother Pengyun, it's not that I'm timid, I'm just afraid of seeing our Jin family branch fighting a protracted war with the remaining Liu family and Zhang family on the island. It seems that these two clans are in cahoots with each other. The number of cultivators and various spiritual objects of the two clans combined is much stronger than our Jin family's foundation. Once a protracted war breaks out, there is a great probability that our Jin family will be dragged to death. Ling Pengyun was about to speak when Ling Qingshi, who had just come to the Boundless Sea with Ling Pengyun and Yan Sidai and was sent to the Jin family branch not long ago, spoke in a cold voice. Uncle Wan Zhuan, a great chaos of monsters and beasts is about to happen in the northern wilderness's Immortal Cultivation world. We must destroy the Liu and Zhang families on the island within a short period of time and build a barely adequate place for the family to relocate as soon as possible to prepare for future troubles. Otherwise, the small piece of land occupied by our Jin family's branch alone will be unable to support the size of the family. At this juncture, if we are afraid of fighting for the sake of playing it safe, how can we have the face to accept the family's salary? Don't forget, where did all those high-level elixirs that you have used for your cultivation over the years, Uncle Wan Zhuan, come from? If you take my Ling family's food, you have to work for my Ling family. This time, we must destroy the Liu and Zhang families, and it must be pacified within 1 year. If we delay Uncle Ba's plan, and this branch fails to achieve success before the monster chaos, we will all suffer. Jin Fei, who had never spoken before, was accepted as a disciple by Ling Pengyun in his early years, and was extremely beautiful and in her 40s or 50s, agreed at this time. That's right. I agree with Qingshi. Jin Fei had been practicing spiritual plants in the Ling clan in the northern wilderness cultivation world for many years. However, when she learned that Ling Pengyun was going to take Ling Qingshi back to Guiling Island and let Ling Qingshi lead the Jin clan branch to unify Guiling Island, she followed to help. Years of seclusion also brought her great benefits. The first benefit was her cultivation. She was now at the 3rd level of foundation building, 1 level higher than Ling Qingshi. Her spiritual plants had also reached the limit of the 2nd level lower grade. She only needed to remember to push her spiritual plants to the 2nd level middle grade. She was also known as the 2nd person in the younger generation of the family in the spiritual plants. The first person was the family's genius spiritual plant husband Ling Nianchuan. Wang Juan saw Ling Qingshi, who had just come from the Ling clan, and Jin Fei's impolite words, but he didn't get angry at all. The Ling family, which has many golden elixirs, is behind these two people. If the Ling family wants to kill him, it is just like crushing an ant. Moreover, his cultivation is also obtained by relying on the Ling family. A servant is a servant after all. I have lived peacefully for so many years, and I almost forgot about this matter. Bitterness kept rising in his heart. However, he did not regret becoming a servant under Ling Pengyun in his early years. If he had not done this, he would probably still be in the key training stage, and his lifespan would not be long, and he would have reached the age of decaying wood. But now he still has 100 years of life to live, and has become a rare mid-stage foundation-building cultivator, standing above thousands of cultivators. He did not say more about the destruction of the Liu family and the Zhang family, but just lowered his head and took 2 steps back. He no longer stood side by side with his longtime friend Ling Pengyun, but stood behind him. Ling Pengyun, who was standing aside, saw this scene and looked at his only son Ling Qingshi again, with a little more approval between his eyebrows. Even if Ling Qingshi had not said those words just now, he would have said them to Wang Zhuan, who was only a servant of the Ling family. Mina has trained Qingshi well. With Qingshi's ability to control people with the help of the family's power, it should not be difficult for him to manage the Jin family branch in the future. I can be considered a successor. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but show some joy on his face. At this time, a green figure flew up from the bottom of the mountain and landed on the top of the mountain, revealing the figure of Jin Feng, the patriarch of the Jin family. Jin Feng also walked in front of Ling Pengyun and others and spoke. Master, cousin Fair, Qingshi, brother Wan Zhuan, I have summoned all 153 members of our Jin's branch who are above the middle stage of key training and the guest officials by using your words that your lifespan is exhausted. Now, they are all gathered outside the ancestral temple halfway up the mountain. They can go out at any time. After Ling Qingshi and Jin Fei were sent to Guiling Island by Ling Pengyun and Yan Sidai a few days ago, Ling Pengyun instructed his disciple Jin Feng to summon the cultivators of the clan to return by saying that his lifespan is exhausted. Although it is a bit unlucky to summon people in this way, it is the only way to gather the Jin family's manpower without arousing the defense of the Liu family and the Zhang family. After all, decades ago, when Ling Pengyun helped Jin Feng to establish the Jin family, he was full of death and his lifespan was not much. Most cultivators on Guiling Island knew about this, so the Liu family and the Han family naturally knew about it. Under such circumstances, in the eyes of outsiders, Ling Pengyun was lucky to be alive until now, and he was able to find spiritual objects that could increase his lifespan. And his tragic death now was even more reasonable. Ling Pengyun's expression froze, and his kind face became a little more ruthless, and he gave orders. Then we will set out immediately to wipe out the Liu and Zhang families. My son Ling Qingshi, brother Wan Zhuan and I will take 70 key training cultivators to Qingshi Mountain, which is located to the east of the branch and is adjacent to the Liu family's second-grade spiritual mountain. We will look for the young man from the family who entered the foundation building stage a few years ago, and take him straight to the Liu family, and disciple Jin Feng. You take your Taoist partner Bai, your niece Jin Fair, and the remaining 83 mid-stage key training cultivators to Fengying Mountain, which is the second-grade superior spiritual mountain to the west of the branch and adjacent to the Zhang family, to ask Feng Yingpeng to come out of the mountain and help you destroy the Zhang family. We must prevent the news from leaking out. The Jin family members are fine, but we must be careful about those independent cultivators and guest officials, lest they inform the Liu and Zhang families. Once there is anything unusual, they will be killed directly. Before, the young man from the Jin family, who had not been in a hurry to build his foundation and to return with Feng Yingpeng in the border areas adjacent to the Liu and Zhang families, was also to confuse the Liu and Zhang families. After all, normally, it is not a good thing for Ling Pengyun to die after his lifespan is exhausted. At this time, if Feng Yingpeng, who is stationed at the border, and the young generation of the Jin family who are building their foundation, return to the clan, there will be a vacancy in the border, which will completely give the Liu family and the Zhang family an opportunity. Under such circumstances, there is no reason for the experienced people of the Liu family and the Zhang family not to see that this matter is strange. Therefore, Ling Pengyun came up with this bad idea, letting the young generation of the Jin family who is building their foundation and Feng Yingpeng not return to the clan at this time, and still stationed at the border, which means to station the villains. At the same time, conveyed to the Liu family and the Zhang family that the Jin family branch is now very nervous about them, in order to paralyze them. Chapter 733, Please ask Feng Ying Patriarch to come out. Jin Feng, the head of the Jin family, nodded slightly. He immediately took his cousin Jin Fair, whom he had not seen for many years, down the mountain and found his wife Bai, who had been leading the family to handle Ling Pengyun's funeral. He simply told Bai the reason. Although Bai was extremely surprised by this matter, she was even a little angry. After all, she had been married to the Jin family for so many years and was considered a member of the Jin family. She was also a foundation-building cultivator. The destruction of the Liu and Zhang families should be discussed with her. However, she also knew the seriousness of this matter. In addition to Jin Feng's various good words, and she was helped by Jin to break through the foundation in her early years, she stopped being angry and followed her husband Jin Feng to go to war. Previously, in order to avoid the news from leaking out, Jin Feng did not tell his wife Bai about the destruction of the Liu and Zhang families. Jin Feng then took his wife Bai to the ancestral temple halfway up the mountain, and took 83 of the Jin family's mid-stage key training cultivators outside the ancestral temple and drove a second-grade upper-grade medium-sized flying boat to leave the Jin family mountain. Ling Pengyun, his only son, and Wan Zhuan also drove a second-grade upper-grade medium-sized flying boat to carry the remaining 70 key training cultivators in the ancestral temple and left the place. Although this matter caused the cultivators above the mid-stage key training who were taken away by them, the other Jin family cultivators who were in the mountain to handle Ling Pengyun's funeral, and the Jin family's guest officials to be puzzled, they did not dare to ask more. During this period, whether it was the cultivators standing on the two flying boats driven by Ling Pengyun and others, or the remaining clansmen on the Jin family mountain, they were all secretly using means of communication. However, they were all killed in time by Ling Pengyun and others, as well as the original Ling family members who were stationed in the Jin family mountain, so there was no big trouble. Half a day later, to the west of the Jin clan's branch, under a 100-foot-high sacred mountain covered with many green trees or weeds. Jin Fengyi landed his flying boat here. He raised his hands with a respectful look on his face, and said loudly to the famous Fengying Mountain in front of him, "Please ask the Fengying ancestor to come out of the mountain and help our clan destroy the Zhuang clan and unify Guiling Island." In just a moment, an excited eagle cry resounded through the air from Fengying Mountain. The next moment, a green figure suddenly flew out from the top of the mountain, revealing the figure of Feng Yingpeng. After several years, Feng Yingpeng, who had already raised his cultivation to the perfect foundation, had a stronger aura again, several times stronger than ordinary perfect foundation monsters, or even more than twice as strong. Those sharp eyes were like thorns, and ordinary people could hardly look directly at them. "Finally, I have waited for this day. You youngsters, why don't you follow me and kill the Zhuang family?" Feng Yingpeng spoke in human language and called out to the cultivators on the flying boat, such as Jin Feng, at the foot of Fengying Mountain. Then it turned into a breeze and quickly fled to the Liu family. Jin Fengwen, the head of the Jin family, saw this scene and was puzzled. "Master, this spirit beast likes to retreat. Why is it so keen on destroying the Liu family? But it's good this way. With the help of this ancestor who has perfected his foundation, we can be more confident in destroying the Liu family. And after Guiling Island is completely unified, it's time to attack the Zhu family, the golden elixir family where my wife is." Thinking of this, he looked at Bai beside him with a slightly strange look. "It would be best if we could peacefully seize the clan land of the Zhu family with a third-level spiritual vein. But if we can't, with the ruthlessness of the main family Ling, the Zhu family will probably be exterminated. By then, madam, as a member of the Zhu family, I'm afraid it will not be spared." Jin Feng couldn't help but sigh. Although he had married into the Zhao family of Guiling Island, the enemy clan, and married a female cultivator of the Zhao family, and finally killed the Zhao family daughter for revenge. But at that time, he regarded the Zhao family daughter as an enemy from the beginning to the end, and had no feelings for her at all. But this Bai family was different. After years of getting along with her, and Bai's considerate personality, he more or less developed some feelings for Bai. The path of cultivation is vast, with countless beautiful scenery along the way, and only the strongest can stand at the end. Now I can only take this fast boat of the main family Ling family to have a chance to travel on the Great Road. If it really comes to the point of breaking up with the Zhu family, I only hope that my wife will not blame me in the underworld in the future. In this life, I must embark on the Great Road of Golden Elixir, prove the long life of 500 years, become the head of a large Golden Elixir family, enjoy the worship of thousands of clansmen, and lead my Jin family to endless glory. Jin Feng's heart was ruthless and he swore secretly. Then, he also quickly controlled the flying boat under his feet and chased Feng Yingpeng, who flew to the Zhuang family first. On the other side, Ling Pengyun and his group found the foundation building of the younger generation of the Jin family, who was stationed in the Qiangshi Mountain at the border of the branch, and then stepped into the territory of the Liu family. Because Ling Pengyun had set up a second-level superior breath-retaining formation given by Ling Pengyun on the flying boat, no cultivator noticed it along the way. They penetrated into the Liu family's territory for thousands of miles, triggering the Zhuang family's protective formation. Ling Pengyun, Ling Chengshi, Wan Zhuan, and the 70 key training monks they brought with them were discovered. Suddenly, the Liu family's alarm bells rang and it was in chaos. At this time, Ling Pengyun no longer hid. He directly cast two formations to cover the Liu family's territory. One was a trap formation, and the other was a formation to isolate the means of communication. The trap formation was inside, and the isolation formation was outside. In this way, it can be guaranteed that the isolation formation will not be broken by the Zhang family monks. "Old Ghost Ling, you are not dead." An old, hoarse and angry roar came from the Zhang family mountain. "You are not dead yet, how dare I die first?" Ling Pengyun laughed loudly, and then sacrificed a formation flag and a formation plate with a quasi-third-level attack formation. After distributing the formation flags to the dozen or 20 cultivators present, he set up the formation and summoned the formation device of the formation, which was at the level of the prototype of a magic weapon, to attack the Liu family's protective formation on the mountain. The formation was of extraordinary grade, and even if the Liu family's protective formation had a defensive formation device, it was still a bit overwhelmed. In addition, The remaining 30 or 40 Jin family cultivators, under the leadership of Wan Zhuan and the Jin family's junior foundation building cultivator, set up a second-level low-grade attack formation, which transformed into extraordinary attacks. However, after a while, the Liu family's protective formation was hit by the 3 formations set up by the Jin family cultivators. At this time, at the top of the Liu family mountain, there were a full 4 foundation building cultivators. Among them, the younger foundation building cultivator was the one that the Liu family had secretly cultivated in recent years. At this moment, the 4 Liu family cultivators looked at the Jin family members, including Ling Pengyun, who had taken out 4 second-level formations and a quasi-third-level formation. Their brows were full of surprise. Those formations were all very valuable. When added together, they were worth more than 200,000 or 300,000 spiritual stones. Even if it was just the formations, even the Liu family would find it difficult to take them out. When did the Jin family have so many formations? Could it be that the Jin family has the support of its relatives, the Jiu family, the Golden Elixir family? If that's the case, my Liu family is doomed. The old cultivator of the Liu family, who had the highest cultivation level at the peak of the 6th level of foundation building, had a look of despair between his brows and murmured. However, he did not give up his life. After a while, he became serious and led the other 3 foundation building cultivators around him and the Liu family members in the mountain to fight back. After all, these cultivators were no match for the formations in the hands of Ling Pengyun and others. Within 10 days, the Liu family formation was shattered by Ling Pengyun and others. Ling Pengyun, Ling Qingshi, Wan Zhuan and others also breathed a sigh of relief. In the past few days, they had consumed a lot of elixirs to restore spiritual power in order to continuously activate those attack formations. If they dragged on, they would return empty-handed. No need to save spiritual power anymore. Use all your strength to activate the formations you have arranged, and do your best to kill the cultivators in the Liu family mountain. Ling Pengyun also shouted loudly at this moment. Then, he transferred more spiritual power into the quasi-third level formation, summoned the prototype flying sword formation device of the magic weapon in this formation, and stimulated a 70% power comparable to the full strength attack of a giant in first-level cultivator to kill into the Liu family mountain. The 4 foundation building monks of the Liu family were not ordinary people. At this moment, they also took out a second-level middle-grade defense formation that had never been used, and propped up a huge defense-like curtain. However, the light curtain was unable to resist the quasi-third-level flying sword formation device, and was smashed by the flying sword formation device. Then, the sword killed 2 Liu family foundation building early-stage monks. The other 2 foundation building middle-stage monks were also seriously injured by the attack formation set up by Wan Zhuan and the younger generation of the Jin family. By this time, the formation in the hands of the Jin family also consumed its power and weakened. Ling Pengyun also called on everyone to put away the formation directly, and called out to Ling Qingshi. Qingshi, follow your father into the Liu family mountain. Ling Qingshi took a pill to restore spiritual power and immediately responded. Good. The 2 father and son, as if they were invincible, used their own magic weapons to knock away the countless attacks from the Liu family mountain, and then they directly fled into the Liu family mountain, heading straight for the only 2 remaining mid-stage foundation building cultivators of the Liu family. Just a face-to-face encounter, Ling Pengyun, who had a cultivation level of up to the 9th level of the foundation building, drove a second-level top-grade axe life magic weapon to suppress his opponent and gain the upper hand. As for Ling Qingshi, who was at the 2nd level of the foundation building, although he faced an opponent with a cultivation level of up to the 5th level of the foundation building, he was not weak at all. He controlled a heavy seal magic weapon, and constantly pinched his fingers to cast earth-type trapping spells, and fought the opponent at the 5th level of the foundation building on equal terms. It can be said that he was extremely powerful. And this is the true strength of Ling Qingshi. Although Ling Qingshi was previously trained as a management talent by the family, Ling Qingshi is also a famous genius of the Ling family. After all, he is a cultivator with dual spiritual roots of earth and gold, and has a very high talent for earth-based magic. He is an earth-based magic cultivator. Chapter 734, The Way to Control People. With a 2nd level of foundation building against a 5th level of foundation building, it was right to let this child return to the family to practice. We didn't bury this child's talent. My lineage will prosper. Ha ha ha. During the battle, Ling Pengyun watched the battle of his only son Ling Qingshi, and was overjoyed. His offensive became faster. Within a few hundred moves, he chopped off the opponent's head. Wang Zhuan and others also came to support at this moment, helping Ling Qingshi to kill the 5th level of foundation building Liu family cultivator here. As for the remaining dozens of Liu family cultivators in the mountain, they naturally all suffered from the poisonous hands. After a simple cleanup of the battlefield, Ling Pengyun sent the Ling family members brought from the family in the early years to garrison the Liu family mountain. He took the other cultivators to fly the flying boat and rushed to the place where the other low-level spiritual veins of the Liu family were located, intending to occupy those spiritual veins one by one and kill the cultivators in them. On the other side, a big battle also took place in the Zhang family mountain of Guiling Island. Jin Feng, the head of the Jin family, led his wife Bai and other family members to set up many second-level formations and a quasi-third-level formation to bombard the mountain protection formation of the Zhang family mountain. In addition, in the sky above the Zhang family mountain, the Ling Pengyun also summoned countless hurricanes to sweep over the formation. Under such a fierce bombardment, the formation naturally could not last long and was shattered. The eyes of the Ling Pengyun in the sky suddenly turned scarlet, and it turned into a killing god. It was the first to rush into the Zhang family mountain and summoned the top inferior life weapon Wind Shadow Flying Blade that it had created in the past few years after thinking hard and creating it in the posture of foundation building. In a short period of time, it killed the Zhang family's guardian spirit beast in the late stage of foundation building, 2 cultivators who entered the foundation building in recent years, and the Zhang family's mid-stage foundation building patriarch. Afterwards, this eagle seemed to have killed most of the key training cultivators in the Zhang family mountain. As a result, its murderous intent became more intense, and it no longer looked like a spirit beast, but a demon beast. Even Jin Feng, the head of the Jin family, did not dare to approach the eagle, lest it be accidentally injured by the eagle. He only dared to tell the eagle from a distance about the battle situation where Ling Pengyun and others destroyed the Liu family. After hearing this, Si Peng stood on the top of the Zhang family's mountain, looking towards the direction of the northern wilderness Xiuxin world, with a bit of longing between his eyebrows. The Liu family and the Zhang family have both been destroyed, and Guiling Island will also be unified. Master, when will you come to take me back to the clan? When will you help me enter the golden elixir and take me to the Xiuxin world together? In the next half-month, the low-level spiritual veins of the Liu family and the Zhang family were also cleaned up by the Jin family. And the news of the destruction of the Liu family and the Zhang family was inevitably spread out. Guiling Island also fell into turmoil. Many greedy casual cultivators acted as evil cultivators, wantonly killing cultivators on the island, causing panic among the people of Guiling Island. Fortunately, the foundation-building forces of the Jin family used thunderous means, wasting no time, and pursued those evil cultivators with all their strength, and sent cultivators from the family to patrol the island, thus suppressing the unrest. One day, halfway up the mountain of the Jin family mountain, sitting at a tea table in a courtyard hall were Jin Feng and his wife, as well as a middle-aged cultivator wearing the Taoist robes of the Zhu family. Xia Feng, your Jin family is really reckless this time. The impact of destroying 2 foundation-building families in a row is really too great. The foundation-building forces on some spiritual islands around your Guiling Island have begun to worry that your Jin family's motives for destroying the Liu family and the Zhang family are impure, and they have the intention of evil cultivation. The top leaders of our family have also been troubled by this matter recently. This matter, I'm afraid it will not end well. The middle-aged cultivator wearing the Taoist robes of the Zhu family frowned slightly, and said to Jin Feng in front of him with a hint of meaning, "Father-in-law, you are wrong to blame our Jin family. Several decades ago, when our Jin family was destroyed, in addition to the Zhao family of Guiling Island, the Liu family and the Zhang family were also involved. Now that I have rebuilt the Jin family is getting stronger and stronger. Naturally, I should avenge the ancestors of the clan and destroy those 2 clans to pay tribute to the ancestors." After saying that, Jin Feng took out a bulging storage bag from his arms, stuffed it into the middle-aged cultivator in front of him, and said, "Father-in-law, I heard that the Zhu family has suffered heavy losses recently due to the sea monster clan, and many spiritual veins have been occupied. I think under such circumstances, the Zhu family will also need spiritual stones and spiritual objects in many places. I hope that the spiritual objects in this storage bag can help the Zhu family." The middle-aged cultivator was Chu Beiqian, the father of Jin Feng's Taoist partner Bai. When Chu Beiqian heard about the current predicament of the Chu family, he immediately slammed the table, with a look of resentment and anger. It was not the sea monsters that occupied our spiritual veins, it was all done by the damn Jin family. If our family could give birth to a golden elixir with abundant vitality, or even just a fake one, the Jin family would not be so rampant. At this point, Chu Beiqian sighed again. The Jin family is a golden elixir family with a golden elixir cultivator sitting in the vicinity of the Chu family, and its strength is much stronger than that of the Chu family. Then, Chu Beiqian also fixed his eyes on the bulging storage bag handed over by Jin Feng. He probably knew what Jin Feng meant, and he couldn't help but sigh that his son-in-law was smart. However, he still made some polite remarks to Jin Feng. "Zia Feng, what are you doing?" Jin Feng said seriously. "Father-in-law, as one of the affiliated forces of the Chu family, my Jin family should help the Chu family through the difficulties. This is what my Jin family should do." Bai Shi, who was standing aside, also spoke at this time. "Yes, Dad. When I went back to the family to see you and Mom a few days ago, I heard that the family was in urgent need of some healing pills and recovery pills to fight against the demons that invaded the sea area of the mother family. But I didn't expect that the enemy of the mother family was not the demons, but the Jin family." Chu Beiqian was no longer polite at this time and took the storage bag. Because there was no spiritual mark in the storage bag, he also smoothly probed his spiritual sense into it and saw the spiritual objects in it. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. There were 30,000 spiritual stones and a batch of pills worth at least 20,000 to 30,000 spiritual stones in it. With this batch of spiritual objects, the shortage of family pills can be alleviated. Those spiritual stones are also of great help to the family. Chu Beiqian sighed. Then, he raised a kind smile on his face and said to Jin Feng and his daughter Bai, "I also treat you as my own family, so I told you about the current situation of my Chu family. The matter of the Jin family has a huge impact. Remember not to spread it out to avoid chaos. As for this storage bag, since you are interested, I will accept it. I will also speak more for your Jin family. I think that with the fair nature of the clan leader, he will definitely clear your name. This time, the destruction of the Liu family and the Zhang family is for revenge. I think so. The foundation building forces around Guiling Island will not say anything more." Jin Feng, the clan leader of the Jin family, was also happy when he heard this, and said to Chu Beiqian, "Thank you, father-in-law." After speaking, he took out another storage bag from his arms and handed it to Chu Beiqian. This storage bag only contained 3,000 spirit stones. However, this batch of spirit stones was not a small amount for Chu Beiqian, a cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building. He was also happy about this, and he liked Jin Feng, a sensible son-in-law, even more in his heart. After everyone chatted for a while, Chu Beiqian also said goodbye and left Jin Family Mountain. At the same time, at the top of Jin Family Mountain, the head of the Jin family branch, Ling Pengyun, and Ling Qiangshi stood there. "You are so happy to get the spiritual object today, but I wonder what your expression will be when your family land is robbed in the future." Ling Pengyun looked at the direction where Chu Beiqian left, with a bit of evil interest between his eyebrows, and muttered to himself, "I guess he will beg us to spare his life." Ling Qiangshi on the side joked, "If that's the case, what should we do? This person is the father-in-law of Jin Feng, the head of the Jin family branch." Ling Pengyun said with interest, "No matter how much Jin Feng says, he is just a servant of the Ling family. We can do whatever we want. Why should we care about a minor foundation-building cultivator? In the future, when our family plots against the Chu family, if we have a falling out with them, we will kill him even if he begs for mercy. If the Chu family is compliant, we will let the Chu family live in peace." Ling Qiangshi said with a bit more murderous intent between his eyebrows. "Ha ha ha, my son has the style of me in the past." Ling Pengyun laughed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 735 Dongho Spiritual Water and Sito Golden Liquid, Subscription Request. The Boundless Sea Area of Immortal Cultivation. Under the command of Dongho Xianzong, the easternmost Yuanying sect of the 36 seas of the human race, the Dongho Xianzong, The largest market in the Donghosi area is holding a medium-sized auction that is held only once every 30 years. Because Dongho Xianzong is a rare Yuanying sect, and this is a medium-sized auction, there are tens of thousands of spiritual objects. With so many spiritual objects, there are naturally not a few cultivators attracted. Ling Pengyun and Yan Siyi are among them. At this time, in a private room on the third floor of the Dongho auction house, Ling Pengyun, who is wearing black clothes and a black veil, looked at the ordinary level Jinden spiritual object Dongho spirit water in his hand, which he had just bought for 343,000 spiritual stones, and couldn't help showing a happy expression on his face. This Dongho spirit water is a spiritual liquid refined by Dongho Xianzong with several precious spiritual objects. This water can enhance the strength of the cultivator's consciousness in a short period of time, and indirectly increase the probability of the cultivator entering the Jinden stage by 10%. At the same time, this item is also the last item of the auction held by Dongho Auction House once every 30 years. In addition, 3 second-class golden elixir spiritual object pseudo-elixir liquid appeared in this auction. The competition for these 3 pseudo-elixir liquids is fierce. Even Ling Pengyun only spent 178,000 spiritual stones to buy one. The price of the other 2 pseudo-elixir liquids has risen too high, reaching more than 200,000 spiritual stones, with a premium of almost 50,000 spiritual stones. This is too high a premium for pseudo-elixir liquids, with a total value of only about 150,000 spiritual stones. In addition, he gave the golden elixir of a golden elixir perfect monster that he and Bai Ling's Henrin of Yan State and others spent a lot of effort to lure and kill in the northern wilderness Xiuxin realm a few days ago to his friend Huang's Henrin to refine pseudo-elixir liquid. Within a few years, he will have a high probability of getting another pseudo-elixir liquid, so he did not spend this unjust money to buy the remaining 2 pseudo-elixir liquids. With this item, plus the high-quality Thunder Yuan Spirit liquid produced by the Thunder Yuan Spirit Pond after the Thunder Vein of Stepping Cloud Ridge was upgraded to the 3rd grade intermediate grade, and the 2nd grade Jinden Spirit item Pseudo-Jidan liquid purchased at the auction this time, the probability of my Rinshu Blue Cloud Grass entering the Jinden stage can be increased by 30%, and my Rinshu Blue Cloud Grass was given a breath of Yin and Yang Taichu Qi by me in its early years, and its spiritual consciousness, physical toughness, etc. have been blessed, which can increase its probability of entering the Jinden stage by 10%. During its breakthrough to the Jinden stage, its owner who is of the same origin as it, can help it condense the Jiamu crystal, which is similar to the Jinden of cultivators. It can also be much more relaxed, and it can probably increase its probability of entering the Jinden stage by about 10%. In this way, my natal spiritual plant has about a 50% chance of entering the Jinden stage. This probability is not low. If it can enter the Jinden realm, I will also receive spiritual power from it because it is my natal spiritual plant. Maybe I will have a chance to try to break through the bottleneck of the 5th level of Jinden and enter the 6th level of Jinden. After that, it's time to find a Jinden spiritual object for my Pengyun pen. Ling Pengyun secretly planned. It is not difficult for spiritual plants, such as Rinshu Blue Cloud Grass, to break through the realm. After reaching a certain age, there is a probability that it can break through. However, this spiritual plant is the same as other spiritual plants. After being sacrificed and trained by the cultivators as a natal spiritual plant, the effect will be greatly enhanced due to the mutual complementation with the natal spiritual plant. But relatively speaking, the difficulty of breaking through the realm will also increase, so the help of Jinden spiritual objects is needed. At present, only Rinshu Blue Cloud Grass and Pengyun Peng are suitable for trying to break through the Jinden. In addition, the Jinden seedlings, such as the family's alchemist Ling Changxin and the head of the family Ling Pengyun, are still hovering around the 9th level of the foundation building. They have not practiced the family's 2 methods of spiritual consciousness and meridians to the great success or perfection. Under such circumstances, even if their cultivation is improved to the perfection of the foundation building, the probability of them breaking through the Jinden is not high. Therefore, Ling Pengyun plans to wait a few more years before assisting them in trying to break through the Jinden. At present, the focus is still on Rinshu Blue Cloud Grass and Pengyun Pen. Of the 2, Ling Pengyun chose Rinshu Blue Cloud Grass because this spiritual plant is more useful to him. This spiritual plant can store a large amount of spiritual power, which is equivalent to a powerful spiritual power storage instrument. As long as it can enter the Jinden, it will not only be of great help to Ling Pengyun during the battle. Moreover, the spiritual power feedback it induces when it enters the dantian can also help Ling Pengyun. On the other hand, although Feng Yingpeng's aptitude is good, it is not as good as the black armored turtle. After entering the golden elixir realm, this Peng will probably not be able to help him much. After all, he has a lot of golden elixir beast puppets on hand, and the ordinary golden elixir spirit beasts with ordinary combat power are of little help to him. And his Renshu blue cloud grass could have tried to break through the golden elixir several years ago, but at that time Ling Pengyun planned to help the black armored turtle enter the golden elixir realm first. After all, that black armored turtle is extraordinary. Once it enters the golden elixir realm, it will be of great help to Ling Pengyun. But fortunately, the black armored turtle broke through the golden elixir alone, and did not use the ordinary golden elixir spirit thunder yuan spirit liquid in Ling Pengyun's hand, and the pseudo-elixir liquid obtained from Huang's Henrun. This made it possible for him to raise the golden elixir spirits needed for Renshu blue cloud grass to enter the golden elixir realm so quickly this time. In addition, Liang Mingtu, a member of the Liang family, a subsidiary family of the Ling family, was also able to use the pseudo-elixir liquid to enter the fake elixir realm. The distracting thoughts were collected. At this time, because the last item of the auction, the Donghu liquid, was auctioned off by Ling Pengyun, a giant cultivator from the Donghu immortal sect also came up from the backstage of the auction house to the auction table in the center of the first floor hall of the auction house and said to everyone, "This auction is over. Friends below the giant realm, please leave quickly. If you are interested in participating in the next trade fair held by our sect, you can stay. If you don't want to, you can leave." Ling Pengyun was somewhat interested when he heard this. It is said that the Donghu immortal sect is a well-known sect for refining instruments. This sect also often produces a lot of giant magic weapons with extraordinary power. Ling Pengyun also wants to see if the Donghu immortal sect will produce any rare magic weapons at this trade fair. In addition, Ling Pengyun also plans to use this trade fair to see if he can find the purple cloud flower, the main material for refining the miasma-breaking treasure pill. Although Taoist Mu Ping, who has a quasi-third-level purple cloud flower in the northern wilderness cultivation world, has promised to sell one to Yan Cai after the flower matures and is refined into pill in a few years. The more spiritual objects that can be used to refine this kind of miasma-breaking treasure pill, the better. Of course, Ling Pengyun is mainly thinking about getting a living third-level miasma-breaking purple cloud flower. The superior third-level lower-grade spiritual plant inheritance he got from the Kanglan Baha'i sect has a record of a secret method that can increase the number of purple cloud flowers breeding spiritual seeds. If the Ling family can get a high-level purple cloud flower, in the future, the Ling family may have a chance to get the purple cloud flower spiritual seeds through this flower, and then cultivate a high-level purple cloud flower. In this way, if the Ling family's giant cultivators encounter the embarrassing situation of Yan Cai encountering a bottleneck and being unable to break through in a short time in the future, they will not have to search for the fortune purple cloud pill everywhere. After all, with a purple cloud flower as the main material, they can refine this pill by themselves. Chapter 736, Prisoner Waterguard Spring Jade Grass, Subscription Request. After half an hour, the key training and foundation building monks who were waiting to participate in the auction, as well as some giant monks who were unwilling to participate in the trade fair, all left the auction house. The giant monk of Donghu Xianzong, standing on the auction platform, also announced the official start of the Donghu trade fair. At this moment, he also took out 10 magic weapons with a bright spiritual light, different styles, superior quality, and grades of more than third-level middle grade. This person also introduced the effects and functions of the 10 magic weapons in detail. It was agreed that only various spiritual objects could be exchanged, and the monks who bid for elixirs had the right to buy those magic weapons first. Ling Pengyun could probably understand this special condition. It is said that there are very few alchemists above the third level in the contemporary Donghu Xianzong, and there is a shortage of alchemy talents. And this sect is a Yuanying sect, and there is a Yuanying sitting in the sect. Under such circumstances, the number of giant in this sect is naturally not small. The scarcity of third-level alchemists makes this sect's golden elixir extremely scarce for third-level cultivation elixirs. This sect also purchases third-level elixirs from outside all year round. In addition, this sect recruits potential alchemists in various markets under its jurisdiction all year round, and even has an alchemy competition every 30 years. If the winner is recognized by the Immortal Sect as having the qualifications to become a third-level alchemist, the Immortal Sect will directly reward him with a second-class golden elixir spiritual object, which can be said to be a great benefit. At this time, Ling Pengyun's eyes were fixed on a third-level medium-grade blue-gourd magic weapon in front of the Donghu Immortal Sect's golden elixir cultivator, and his eyes were full of excitement. According to the introduction of the Donghu Immortal Sect's golden elixir cultivator just now, this treasure is called Prison Water Gourd. This gourd can transform into a large amount of misty spiritual water, which is a treasure to trap the enemy. Now, Ling Pengyun's third-level medium-grade Bihai Yuan Baos who weighs more than 1 million pounds, and its power is stronger than ordinary third-level top-grade magic weapons. The top-notch third-grade upper-grade medium-level life-saving magic weapons in his hands, the Lightning Treasure Mirror and the Zhuanyang Treasure Lamp, were also extremely powerful. He also had the Zhuanyang Treasure Shield for defense. The only thing missing was a suitable trapping magic weapon. He did have a third-grade medium-grade trapping formation, but activating the formation in battle consumed too much spiritual power and consciousness, which was not conducive to long-term combat. It was not suitable for use when there were many monster kings, such as when monster beasts were rampaging. Therefore, Ling Pengyun was now more eager for trapping magic weapons. He also sent a voice transmission to the Donghu Immortal Sect golden pill on the auction table, expressing his willingness to exchange the prisoner water gourd with a third-grade low-grade large formation with a third-grade low-grade attack formation device. Because this formation had a formation device, the formation and the device worked together, and the power was much stronger than the ordinary third-grade medium-grade formation, and the value was about 1 million spirit stones. The prisoner water gourd was of superior quality, and was about 300,000 spiritual stones more expensive than the ordinary third-grade medium-grade magic weapon, and was worth about 1 million spiritual stones. The Donghu Immortal Sect Jindan, who hosted the trade fair, agreed to the deal considering that the killing ray Ling Pengyun took out was extremely powerful and rare. Yamsei had enough magic weapons in her hands, and she didn't value the magic weapons that Donghu Immortal Sect Jindan took out, so she never sold them. Soon, the other 9 magic weapons of superior quality around Donghu Immortal Sect Jindan were exchanged by the Jindan monks present with spiritual objects. Then, the remaining dozens of Jindan monks who participated in the trade fair also went up to the auction table one by one. For a while, various third-grade spiritual objects appeared one after another. Ling Pengyun also took this opportunity to buy a rare third-grade low-grade spiritual medicine spring jade grass from a Jindan late-stage monk who covered his face. Chunayu grass is one of the 2 main materials for refining the healing pill Yimu Chunayu pill. If you can get a Yimu crystal from a Jindan level spirit grass fairy, you can refine a furnace of Yimu Chunayu pill, which is said to be able to regenerate broken arms and restore serious spiritual injuries. It's just a pity that the Yimu crystals condensed by Jindan level spirit grass fairies in the early Jindan period contain less Yimu essence and are difficult to be used as the main material of Yimu Chunayu pill. At least the Yimu crystals condensed by the rare Jindan level spirit grass fairy in the middle Jindan period are needed to meet the standard. The Yimu crystals of some Jindan level spirit grass fairies with special means and strong strength can also be used, but this type of Yimu spirit is relatively rare. At the same time, the difficulty of refining this pill is also extremely high. At least a third-level middle-grade alchemist is required to be sure to refine a third-level low-grade Yimu Chunayu pill. That is why the Jindan cultivator who possessed the spring jade grass would take it out to exchange for the spiritual objects he needed, instead of keeping it. In addition, the roots of this spring jade grass are still intact and can be transplanted into the spiritual field. There is a chance that it can be cultivated to the third-level middle or upper grade. By then, the value of this spring jade grass will be higher, but it will take a long time, at least 100 years. Ling Pengyun considered that this spring jade grass was rare, even if you had seen it for the first time, and it was difficult to reproduce. There was no such spiritual seed on the market. Ling Pengyun planned to use this as a first ancestor spring jade grass to see if he could rely on this grass to produce some spring jade grass spiritual seeds in the future, so that the family could get more powerful spring jade grass. Afterwards, Ling Pengyun also went to the auction platform. However, because he had revealed a lot of wealth by purchasing Donghu spiritual water and a pseudo-elixir liquid at the previous auction, he did not dare to take out anything too precious. He only took out 10 third-level inferior cultivation elixirs of less value, Dan, which were refined by Ling Yunhong, intending to exchange for some third-level spiritual medicines. At present, because Ling Pengyun, Ling Yunhong, and Ling Pengyun are third-level instrument refiners, alchemists, and array masters, the Ling family's more valuable third-level spiritual objects are also elixirs, magic tools, and arrays. Among them, the single body of the elixir has the lowest value. At the same time, Ling Pengyun's action of taking out the Taichu Dan also attracted the attention of the Donghu Xianzong Jinden cultivator who presided over the trade fair. He looked at the Taichu Dan floating around Ling Pengyun, and felt the aura they exuded. They were all 10% or 20% stronger than the Jiuan Dan of the same price. His eyes suddenly showed a strange color. I think the alchemist who refined those 10 Jiuan Dan must have a very extraordinary level of Jiuan Dan. The cultivator then sent a voice transmission to Ling Pengyun, who was standing on the auction platform, wearing a black robe and a black veil to cover his figure. Dao, are those 10 third-level low-grade Jiuan Dan refined by you? Ling Pengyun's expression slightly changed, and he replied truthfully. No, these Jiuan Dan were refined by my elders. Dao asked this question, what is the matter? Chapter 737 Meteorite C, Subscription Request. When the cultivator from Donghu sect heard this, his eyes lit up slightly and he spoke. Fellow Taoist, I believe you are aware of the decline of the alchemy department in our sect. Now, our sect is even more eager for talents like your senior third-level alchemist. If your senior alchemist is not in any power, please tell me that as long as the alchemist can join our sect as a guest alchemist, he will not only receive a large amount of offerings every year, but also various high-level spiritual objects and high-level skills of our sect will be open to him. Even the second-rate golden elixir spiritual objects will have the right to be exchanged. And if your senior alchemist is in a certain power, please forgive me for being rude. In addition, for the 10 Jiuan pills worth 30,000 spirit stones that you brought out this time, our sect is willing to buy them with 13 pieces of third-level inferior Jiuan grass and 15,000 spirit stones to make up the difference. Of course, if other golden elixir fellows offer a higher price to buy your 10 Jiuan pills at the trade fair, the deal can be done. After hearing this, Ling Pengyun secretly said in his heart, I didn't expect that Donghu Xianzong would be so eager to recruit third-level alchemists. However, the benefits offered by Donghu Xianzong to recruit alchemists are not bad. I think there will be few third-level alchemists from independent cultivators or ordinary golden elixir forces who will refuse. But for the third-level alchemists from those big forces, this benefit is still not enough. It is estimated that there are not many third-level alchemists who join this sect as guests. And this Donghu Xianzong has been recruiting alchemists for hundreds of years, but it is still recruiting third-level alchemists. This must be the reason. In the end, Donghu Xianzong may still have to take the path of cultivating alchemy talents on its own. This Donghu Xianzong incident is also a wake-up call for the family. Among the 8 arts that our family excels in, namely formation, elixir, weapon, talisman, spiritual plant, beast control, magic orbs, and silkworm breeding, my 3-eyed white fox will take over the formation. According to Pengyun, if this fox's cultivation reaches the golden elixir level, there is a chance that the formation will be upgraded to the 3rd level. Cheng Xin will take over the alchemy, Nian Chu will take over the spiritual plant, Lin Fan's son-in-law and Li Hu will take over the beast control, Li Bing, the genius, will take over the magic corpse, and Cheng Ping will take over the silkworm breeding. However, there has been no talent in weapon refining and talisman making, which is a troublesome matter. We have to pay more attention to this matter in the future, otherwise it will cause great trouble to the family if it is delayed for a long time. If there is really no successor to the inheritance of these 2 arts, even if we consume 2 breaths of yin and yang primordial qi in the future, we must create 2 weapon refining and talisman making geniuses. At this time, several Jinden monks who participated in the trade fair also sent him a message to express their intention to buy the 10 Jiuan pills. However, those people could only take out 3 Jiuan grass at most, and they were willing to make up the difference with spirit stones. Obviously, these people only took out a few Jiuan grass to satisfy Ling Pengyun's condition of selling those Jiuan pills. They also knew that it was not worthwhile to exchange Jiuan grass for Jiuan pills, and it would be better to buy them with spirit stones. Under such circumstances, it seemed that the Donghu Xianzong Jinden monk who was willing to take out 13 Jiuan grasses was sincere. Of course, Ling Pengyun also knew what he meant. I think this person also wants to make a good relationship with me, or with the third-level alchemist behind me. Then, Ling Pengyun wisely chose to trade the 10 Juyin pills with a Donghu Xianzong Jinden monk, and stated that he would inform the elders behind him about the recruitment. As for whether the third-level alchemist elder behind him was in the power, he did not elaborate, and the Donghu Immortal Sex Jinden did not ask much. The trade fair soon came to an end, and Ling Pengyun and Yan Xie also left the place, and went directly to a medium-sized market at the easternmost end of the Donghu Sea, through the market teleportation array. Afterwards, the two left the market directly and flew directly to the direction of the most special meteorite sea among the 36 seas of the human race. This sea area does not belong to any righteous or evil forces, but is occupied by the first casual cultivator of the boundless sea, Meteorite True Lord. This meteorite sea was also opened up hundreds of years ago when the meteorite True Lord destroyed a sea monster clan with a demon king in the early stage of the nascent soul. It is said that the cultivation level of the meteorite True Lord at that time had entered the middle stage of the nascent soul. Over the years, the world has been spreading the word that this peerless casual cultivator has entered the late stage of the nascent soul, but this True Lord has been in seclusion for many years and has not appeared in the world for more than 300 years. So the world does not know whether the rumors that his cultivation has entered the late stage of the nascent soul are true. At the same time, this True Lord has been in seclusion for many years, and most of his disciples are hard workers. He has not managed the meteorite sea much. As long as the cultivators occupying the spiritual veins in the meteorite sea honestly hand in the spiritual stones, it will be fine. This has led to great chaos in the meteorite sea. There are often ambushes, or some forces are destroyed, and the spiritual veins are occupied by so-and-so, etc. However, because the spiritual veins of the meteorite sea can be occupied at will, as long as the forces are destroyed or driven away, and the spiritual stones are handed over to the true Lord of Meteorite in time, the meteorite sea is also regarded as a place to make a fortune by many powerful cultivators. In addition, this sea area is also a place where both righteous and evil can enter. All the demon cultivators in the various markets in this sea area can enter openly, as long as the demon cultivators in the markets under the command of the meteorite sea area do not make trouble at will. Of course, demon cultivators are not allowed to occupy the spiritual veins here. This rule is set by the meteorite True Lord. This also led to this sea area becoming the best place for demon cultivators who killed righteous cultivators and intended to sell their stolen property, which also increased the liveliness of the meteorite sea area. At the same time, Ling Pengyun and Yan Xie spent several days flying out of the Donghu Sea area and stepped into a desolate sea area. However, before they flew for long in this desolate sea area, they were blocked by a Keshuwuji gangfang that stretched for tens of millions of miles. This gangfang is said to be caused by the two demon Taoists who broke the void during the battle tens of thousands of years ago, and then did not use precious treasures to suppress it. After tens of thousands of years, the Wuji Gangfang here evolved into the more powerful Keshuwuji Gangfang due to the strong water vapor in the sea area that stretches for thousands of miles. This wind not only has a strong cutting force, but also has a corrosive effect and always exists. Even a strong man in the early stage of Jinden is at risk of being killed if he is not careful. However, this place is not the only way to the meteorite sea. After crossing from the other demon seas, you can also enter the meteorite sea. It's just that crossing this Keshuwuji Gangfang area is the fastest way to enter the meteorite sea from the human sea. In another half a year, the meteorite market, the largest market in the meteorite sea, will hold a grand auction held every 300 years. If you rush to the meteorite sea from other realms, it will be difficult to catch up with a meteorite auction. This is also the reason why Ling Pengyun and Yan Xie took the risk to take this road. With his distracting thoughts withdrawn, Ling Pengyun took out a black armored turtle and sat on its back with Yan Xie. The black armored turtle also propped up a defensive light curtain, and took Ling Pengyun and Yan Xie directly into the Keshuwuji Gangfang. Countless gangfangs also swept over the defensive light curtain around the black armored turtle, stirring up small waves. A creaking sound was also heard. However, it was extremely difficult for those Wuji gangfangs to break through the light curtain. Seeing this, Ling Pengyun also closed his eyes at ease, entered into the practice, and left everything to the black armored turtle. Chapter 738, Jinden Monk setting up a stall. 1 month later. In the Boundless Sea area, the Immortal Cultivation world. between the Donghua Sea and the Meteorite Sea, deep in the Qishu Gangfang area that stretches for tens of millions of miles. Because the Qishu Gangfang is endless, it keeps passing through this area, blowing up waves of seawater, and also creating huge waves tens of feet high that sweep around, making this sea area a mess. Therefore, this sea area has no vitality, no sea monsters, and even those sea plants with relatively strong vitality in ordinary seas are not here, as if this place is a dead end. But at this moment, a giant turtle is riding the Qishu Gangfang, breaking through a huge wave on the sea surface, and appears here. On its back, there are two cultivators, a man and a woman. At this time, the immortal male cultivator here seemed to have a premonition, opened his eyes, and then looked at Zhang Qianfen. With this person's secret method, he immediately saw dozens of blue tornadoes as high as 10 feet in the sea tens of thousands of miles in front of him, sweeping up countless seawater and ravaging the sea, making it a mess. If you look closely, you can even find that at the core of each of the dozens of blue tornadoes, there is a phantom monster with a blue body, a human-like appearance, and no entity. A key training realm Qishu Gangfang demon spirit? It seems that there is a spiritual vein nearby. It is said that the Qishu Gangfang demon spirits in this area have a very strong sense of each other. Even if the demon spirits are not born from the same spiritual vein, they can communicate with each other over a long distance. And in the depths of this sea, there are rumors that there is a giant and Qishu demon spirit. Under this situation, those dozens of demon spirits cannot be killed, so the black armored turtle can only sneak past. Seeing this, the immortal Ling Pengyun frowned and muttered to himself. The Qishu Gangfang demon spirits were created by the endless Qishu Gangfang in this area, which stimulated the spiritual veins of this land. Their strength is not much different from that of ordinary demon spirits. However, with the help of countless Qishu Gangfang in this land, the spiritual power of these demon spirits is almost inexhaustible, and even as long as they are not fatally injured, they can basically not die, which makes the Qishu demon spirits extremely difficult to deal with. Generally, cultivators who go deep into this sea area are unwilling to provoke the Qishu demon spirits in this land. Fortunately, most of the spiritual veins in this land were broken by the aftermath of the battle between the two demon clan Taoist masters tens of thousands of years ago. Therefore, there are not many spiritual veins in this land, which indirectly makes the number of demon spirits in this land not many. In addition, the demon spirits will not stay away from their own spiritual veins. As long as you don't actively provoke them, it is actually easy to avoid these demon spirits. With the cultivation of the first level of the golden core of the black armored turtle, it used the middle-level breathing technique it knew, and naturally it was very smooth to avoid the dozens of Qishu Gangfang demon spirits, and continued to sneak towards the Meteorite Sea. After that, it took another 2 months to travel, crossing a full tens of millions of miles. Ling Pengyun and Yan Siyi finally took the black armored turtle to leave the Qishu Gangfang area and entered the famous Meteorite Sea. At this time, in order to travel as quickly as possible, Ling Pengyun also put away the black armored turtle, and instead used the escape technique to take Yan Siyi to the nearest medium-sized market built by the old Golden Core forces in the Meteorite market. Through the teleportation array in this medium-sized market, the two went through several medium-sized markets, but in just a few days, they crossed tens of millions of miles and arrived at the destination of this trip, the largest market in the Meteorite Sea, the Meteorite Market. As soon as they left the teleportation hall where the teleportation array was located, Ling Pengyun and Yan Siyi saw a large number of cultivators on several avenues in the market, among which there were also some demon cultivators who had restrained their aura and disguised themselves as righteous cultivators. The spiritual objects sold in the shops on both sides of the avenue were different, with all kinds of strange spiritual objects. Even the shops selling demon spiritual objects did not hide them and advertised them loudly, as if they were afraid that others would not know about it. Obviously, these shops also wanted to attract customers through this move, whether they were righteous or demon cultivators. The atmosphere in the Meteorite Sea is indeed different from that in the outside world. However, the lord of this land, the Meteorite True Lord, is very generous. Perhaps this can really increase financial benefits. Ling Pengyun's heart moved slightly. There are rumors in the outside world that the reason why the Meteorite True Lord is willing to allow demon cultivators to enter the various markets in the Meteorite Sea to trade at will is that he wants to collect enough wealth to improve his own cultivation. After all, when reaching the realm of True Lord Meteorite, the cultivation resources required are a terrifying number. It's a pity that this method cannot be implemented in the northern wilderness cultivation world, and it is estimated that it will be impossible even in the future. Only true Lord Meteorite, who is a casual cultivator, neutral, and has not participated in any of the three-party wars between the righteous, the devil, and the demon in the boundless sea cultivation world every 300 years, can create such a scene. Otherwise, if this can be replicated, it would be a good way to make money. The demon forces in the boundless sea cultivation world are different from the demon forces in the northern wilderness cultivation world, which are severely suppressed by the righteous forces. The demon forces in this cultivation world have been rooted in this cultivation world for tens of thousands of years, and their foundation is extremely deep and their strength is also extremely strong. They are not weaker than the righteous forces in this cultivation world. As for the sea monsters in this land, since more than 70% of the land in this Zeuxan world is seawater, they have a huge living space and reproduce quickly, which makes the monsters in this Zeuxan world stronger. At least 50% stronger than either the righteous or the evil. However, there are some conflicts between the monsters in this Zeuxan world, and they are divided into three major factions. The factions are like the righteous and the evil, and they are irreconcilable. This makes it difficult for this group of monsters to unite like the northern wilderness Zeuxan world and attack the human cultivators. Under such circumstances, the righteous and the evil cultivators in the Wubian Sea Zeuxan world have the opportunity to open up the monster sea area. And tens of thousands of years ago, in order to prevent the other party from occupying too much of their own land, the top leaders of the three forces of righteousness, evil, and monsters also signed a battle contract like the northern wilderness Zeuxan world. Only during the 300-year three-way war can they occupy the other party's entire sea area, or even more sea areas. The 300 years limit for this battle is also because the boundless sea is large, and the living space of the three forces of good, evil and monster is also large. In just 300 years, they will not encounter the dilemma of too many cultivators or monsters, fewer spiritual veins, crowded living space, and the need to expand the territory. On the contrary, this is the case in the northern wilderness Zeuxan world. After retracting his distracting thoughts, Ling Pengyun also took his wife Yan Siai to stroll around this market where good and evil coexist. During this period, Ling Pengyun bought some useful third-level low-grade spiritual objects from several shops opened by the forces under the command of the Meteorite True Lord. Soon, the famous shops in this market were visited by the two. The two also went to the stall area of the market. Perhaps because of the large-scale auction held once every 300 years in the Meteorite market, there are several giant cultivators here who set up stalls like ordinary key training and foundation building cultivators. However, the stalls of the giant cultivators were in a very good location, in the center of the stall area. There were no other stalls within a few feet of them, which made it very bright. Obviously, this was the privilege of these giant stall owners. The spiritual objects placed on the stalls in front of the giant stall owners were also of very high grade, at least, the grade was as high as the second grade realm. However, the quality of those spiritual objects was average, and there were no third grade spiritual objects. According to Ling Pengyun's guess, the spiritual objects of better quality on the giant stall owners were probably put on the auction for auction. And because this auction was relatively grand, ordinary second-grade spiritual objects were not accepted, which made those giant and real people who were usually high and mighty now live in this stall to set up stalls. In addition, Ling Pengyun was probably sure that the giant and cultivators who set up stalls should all be casual cultivators. Otherwise, if they were powerful giant, they could just give the spiritual objects they didn't need to sell to their subordinates, and they wouldn't have to do it themselves. But at this moment, Ling Pengyun's eyes stopped at a spirit egg in front of a middle-stage giant cultivator. It was covered with flames, extremely white, but full of cracks, and had a very weak aura. Next to the spirit egg, there was a small plaque introducing this thing. On this plaque were written the words eggs laid by giant and level lava turtles. Chapter 739, Lava Turtle and Blue Volcano. Ling Pengyun's expression slightly changed, and he asked Yan Siai beside him. Madam, are you interested in training a spirit beast? Yan Siai also raised spirit beasts, but the potential of her spirit beasts was not strong. Now their cultivation was only in the middle and late stages of foundation building, and their path was basically over, with no hope of breaking through the golden elixir. When Yan Siai heard Ling Pengyun's proposal, she was immediately moved. She had already upgraded her spirit kitchen to the 3rd level lower grade realm several years ago through the inheritance of the 3rd level lower grade spirit kitchen obtained from Kanglan Bahe sect, as well as the flesh and blood of some golden elixir level monster beasts. She had no shortage of ordinary cultivation resources, and as the Ling family's golden elixir and Ling Pengyun's wife, she had a very rich family. A few days ago, Ling Pengyun's black armored turtle broke through the golden elixir again, which made her want to train another spirit beast with extraordinary qualifications. Yes, Yamsiai responded, and following Ling Pengyun's gaze, she also saw the existence of the lava turtle egg. Then, she asked Ling Pengyun with some doubts. "Husband, are you interested in the egg laid by the Jindan level lava turtle?" Exactly. The lava turtle clan generally lives in volcanic magma and feeds on lava. They can absorb the power of the earth fire in the lava to improve their cultivation. Moreover, this turtle clan can swallow the lava into their stomachs, condense the power of the earth fire in the volcanic magma, and refine it into lava with a higher temperature. Then, in times of danger, they use the volcanic lava to defend against the enemy. And the dark blue spirit volcano that you discovered earlier in the deep dark river of Lingxiao Maturation Lake has been moved to the clan land after Penguin became a 3rd level formation master. It has been listed as one of the key spiritual objects to be cultivated. I also intend to cultivate it to the 3rd level, so that the core dark blue demon spirit in it can enter the Jindan realm and become the family's guardian demon spirit. If the turtle egg can be successfully hatched, with its bloodline strength of the Jindan demon beast, it is estimated that its aptitude will not be bad. By then, with the help of the lava in the dark blue spirit volcano, it will also be beneficial for it to improve its cultivation. Even when this turtle's cultivation is higher than that of the Yalan volcano, this turtle can also help the Yalan volcano to improve its grade by condensing lava. If Madam likes that lava turtle egg, then the egg will belong to Madam, and if Madam doesn't like it, we will look for it in the future. Yamsiai heard what her husband Ling Pengyun said, and she was somewhat fond of the lava turtle egg, but she still had some concerns in her heart, so she also said it. "Of course I like a turtle egg of this caliber, but my husband, the life of the turtle egg is extremely weak and is almost dying. Are you sure you can help it hatch successfully?" Ling Pengyun said very confidently. "If my Renshu blue cloud grass can enter the golden elixir realm, my spiritual plant can also enter the 3rd level smoothly. I can use the top middle level magical power Jia Yifu Chun Zhi Shu recorded in the spiritual plant inheritance given by the sect to adjust the life source of countless Jiamu and Yimu to help this turtle recover its vitality. I have at least 70% confidence that I can help the turtle egg hatch smoothly." Back then, Ling Pengyun broke through the golden elixir realm and entered the Kanglan Bahe sect as a guest elder. The contents recorded in the upper 3rd level lower grade spiritual plant inheritance that Ling Pengyun asked for from the sect were extremely comprehensive. Jia Yifu Chun Zhi Shu is a top middle level magical power recorded in it. This magical power can use the power of the plants in the world to heal injuries. At the same time, it can also use this technique to nourish the body and even the soul of the cultivator, and take the opportunity to increase some lifespan. For example, restoring the vitality of the turtle egg is even more of a golden elixir, but it may take a few years. Yamsiai had also heard about the power of Jai Fujin technique. Seeing Ling Pengyun so confident, her eyes lit up and she immediately said with a smile, "That's good. From today on, I look forward to the day when my husband becomes a 3rd level spiritual plant husband. Ha ha ha. Let's go and buy the turtle egg. Otherwise, it will be bad if we miss it." Ling Pengyun smiled and took Yamsiai to the stall of the middle stage Jindan cultivator and asked the stall owner, "Fellow Taoist, how much is this lava turtle egg worth?" Seeing that Ling Pengyun's cultivation level was as high as the middle stage Jindan and Yamsiai's cultivation level was also at the early stage of Jindan, the stall owner was also more polite and spoke kindly. "My two Taoists, I think you know the situation of my turtle egg, but the parents of this turtle egg are both in the Jindan realm. If it can be hatched, the turtle and the egg must have a very strong bloodline. If you two Taoists are willing to buy it, I will give you a favor. You can take this turtle egg away for only 30,000 spirit stones." After speaking, the stall owner in the middle Jindan realm quickly added, "This price is my bottom line. I won't bargain. If this egg was not damaged by the aftermath when I killed its parents, I would not be willing to sell it." Ling Pengyun smiled and felt that this price was also quite appropriate. Generally, Spirit eggs whose parents are in the Jindan realm can be sold for at least 50,000 to 100,000 spirit stones on the market. And for a rare spirit beast like the lava turtle, if it is an egg laid by a pair of lava turtles in the Jindan realm, it is no problem to sell it for 100,000 spirit stones. Now, the stall owner is willing to voluntarily reduce the price to 30,000 spirit stones because of the problem of the egg's life, which is really very face-giving. Dao, your price is indeed fair. My wife and I are willing to buy it. Ling Pengyun also took out 30,000 spiritual stones from his storage bag and handed them to the stall owner. The stall owner was originally a casual cultivator. Seeing Ling Pengyun's generosity, he also became close to Ling Pengyun. The two of them exchanged a few polite words and reported each other's surnames. As for the full name or Taoist name, neither of them mentioned it. Through this incident, Ling Pengyun and Yan Sai also learned that the stall owner's surname was Yan, and they also called him Dao Yan. Then, Ling Pengyun asked again if he had the bodies of the parents who left the lava turtle egg. The flesh of the lava turtle can hold lava, which is a good material for refining and storing flame magic weapons. If this thing is smelted into Yan Sai's life magic weapon, the Mandarin Duck Fire Cloud Pot, it can also increase its power. You two are late. I am not good at refining weapons. Yesterday, I sent the bodies of the turtle egg's parents to the auction house in the meteorite market. If you two Taoist friends are interested in buying the two Jindan realm lava turtle bodies, you can bid for them at the auction. The Taoist friend Yan said with a little expectation. If Ling Pengyun and his wife can join the bidding for the two pairs of Jindan realm lava turtle bodies, maybe they can drive up the price of the two bodies, and he can also earn a few more spiritual stones. Ling Pengyun and Yan Sai heard this and nodded slightly, and did not say more about it. The two chatted with the Taoist friend Yan for a few more words. Ling Pengyun and the others also said goodbye to the Taoist friend Yan politely. They wandered around the stall area and bought some low-priced spiritual objects that were useful to the low-level cultivators of the Ling family. They left this area and found an inn in this market and stayed there. Chapter 740, Master Jiamu and Yan Qing's Plan. After several months, it was the day of the large auction held once every 300 years in Meteorite Market. Ling Pengyun and Yan Sai were still thinking that there were many good things among the low-priced spiritual objects in this auction, which could be used by the Ling family. They also put on black clothes and veils to cover their bodies. On the first day of the auction, they left their residence and went to the auction house in the center of the market to participate in the auction. However, before the two took 2 steps in the auction house, a voice with a bit of surprise suddenly appeared in Yan Sai's mind. It is indeed you, Madam Ling. I sensed that your aura was familiar from afar just now. Now I've come closer to see you and I can confirm it. By the way, Madam Ling, why are you here too? Is that Brother Ling next to you? It is difficult for me to detect his aura, and you have covered your figures with black clothes, so it is difficult for me to see through you. When Yan Sai heard the call, she immediately stopped and turned her head to look. Immediately, she saw her good friend Master Jiamu, who had been in the teleportation hall of Muiyuanfang Market all year round, with a kind face, and friend Taoist Yan, who had been selling lava turtle eggs before, walked over from the door of the auction house together without any decoration to cover their figures. I didn't expect to meet you here, Brother Mu. The one next to me is indeed my husband. The spiritual items that my husband and I need to buy this time are quite expensive. In order to avoid causing trouble, I hope Brother Mu can help cover it up. Although Yan Sai was a little uncomfortable because her breath-concealing technique was seen through, the Jiamu Zhenren was a good friend of Ling Pengyun, and she was also familiar with the Jiamu Zhenren, so she politely replied. At the same time, she also told her husband Ling Pengyun about this. Ling Pengyun was happy about this. Jiamu Zhenren was one of his few good friends. It was a happy thing to meet a good friend in a strange place. Then, he greeted Jiamu Zhenren. And Jiamu Zhenren naturally agreed to help them conceal their identities. At this time, Ling Pengyun looked at the Jindan Sangxia Yan Dao next to Jiamu Zhenren who had been selling lava turtle eggs in the stall area, and asked Jiamu Zhenren directly. Brother Mu, do you know this Taoist fellow Yan? Hearing this, Taoist fellow Yan immediately recalled the identities of Ling Pengyun and Yan Sai who were hiding their figures. At the same time, he also noticed that Ling Pengyun and his wife seemed to be familiar with Master Jiamu, so he also looked over. Before, Ling Pengyun and his wife communicated with Master Jianmu using the sound transmission technique, so Taoist fellow Yan next to them had never noticed. "Brother Ling, from what you said, do you also know Brother Yan?" Master Jianmu asked with a little surprise. Ling Pengyun nodded slightly, and then told Master Jianmu about the purchase of lava turtle eggs from Taoist fellow Yan. "So it was you who bought the lava turtle egg in Brother Yan's hand. Before, Brother Yan also asked me if I wanted to buy the turtle egg, but my main cultivation method is wood, which conflicts with the attribute of the turtle egg, so I didn't buy the turtle egg. I didn't expect that the turtle egg would fall into the hands of Brother Ling." After a few words of laughter, Master Jianmu introduced in detail the experience of getting acquainted with fellow Taoist Yan. It turned out that he knew fellow Taoist Yan 100 years ago, earlier than he knew Ling Pengyun and his wife. 100 years ago, Master Jianmu's cultivation was still in the initial stage of Jindan, and he had been stuck in the bottleneck of the third level of Jindan for decades. It was difficult to break through the cultivation. The better realm-breaking elixirs in the Muing Immortal sect were rare, and even he could not get them. In desperation, he had to release the news of purchasing the miasma-breaking elixir such as the creation purple cloud pill. The Jindan's Henren Yan Daoyao, who as a casual cultivator, happened to get a third-grade inferior purple cloud flower from the Monster Clan Sea area. After hearing the news that Jianmu's Henren had spent a lot of money to search for the Paksha Baodan, he also went to find Jianmu's Henren. After the two of them discussed it, Jianmu's Henren also agreed to take out Yimu crystal, another spiritual material for refining the purple cloud pill, and find a high-level alchemist from Muing Xianzong to help refine the purple cloud pill. This matter went very smoothly. Afterwards, the two of them also got a fortune purple cloud pill each, and their cultivation improved with the help of the pill. Afterwards, Yan Daoyao, who as a casual cultivator, often went deep into the Monster Clan Sea area to kill monsters and get spiritual medicines. He would find Jianmu's Henren to help refine it into pills to maximize the benefits. After a while, the two gradually became familiar with each other and became good friends. Ling Pengyun heard this and his expression moved slightly. He also asked Yan Daoyao if he had any purple cloud flowers on him. "Fellow Taoist, you are joking. Purple cloud flower is a rare precious thing in the world. I have only seen it once in my life. If you want to search for purple cloud flower, you can think of a way when the trade fair comes." Fellow Taoist Yan was a little cold, but he still spoke politely. Ling Pengyun nodded helplessly and talked with Master Jianmu again. He also learned that fellow Taoist Yan's full name was Yan Qing. Then he told Master Jianmu and Yan Qing that they would meet again in the future. Then he and Yan Sidai, led by a maid, went up to a private room on the third floor of the auction house. Brother Mu has the support of the Muing Immortal sect, so it shouldn't be difficult for him to find those low-level spiritual objects at the auction. I wonder why Brother Mu and fellow Taoist Yan participated in this auction so early. Ling Pengyun looked at the hall of the auction house, where most of the monks were sitting through the transparent light curtain in front of the private room that was transformed by the auction house's formation. He recalled the scene of seeing Master Jianmu and fellow Taoist Yan just now, and had some doubts. Then he said it out and told his wife Yan Sidai about it. The auction house had already stated on the spiritual object promotion map that this once in 300 years auction would last for 15 days. The first 13 days were the auction of more than 100,000 first and second level spiritual objects. The last 3 days were the auction of the last 1,000 finale items. Maybe Brother Mu and fellow Taoist Yan have nothing to do, so they plan to come and see the lively scene of the auction. Or maybe Brother Mu was invited by fellow Taoist Yan. Yan Sidai was also a little puzzled, but she still said it. Ling Pengyun nodded lightly and didn't say anything more. Then he watched the situation of the auction. In order to cope with the once in 300 years auction, the meteorite auction house had expanded the auction house long before. Now, the auction hall has 300,000 chairs. The private rooms on the second and third floors also have 10,000 and 1,000 seats. According to Ling Pengyun's perception, there are at least hundreds of thousands of cultivators present, and the flow of people is increasing. However, most of them are key training cultivators, and even foundation building cultivators are rare, and Jindan cultivators are even rarer. After all, only some first-level spiritual objects will be auctioned today, and the audience of these spiritual objects are only key training cultivators. According to this flow of people, there must be a lot of Jindan cultivators attracted. By then, the trade fair after the auction is expected to be extremely grand, and the probability of exchanging good things is estimated to be high. Ling Pengyun secretly looked forward to it. At the same time, in another private room, Brother Mu, are the Ling couple trustworthy people? The casual cultivator Jinan Yanqing hesitated for a while, and asked the Jiamu Zhenren who was resting his eyes beside him. When the Jiamu Zhenren, who had closed his eyes, heard this, he also opened his eyes. His expression moved slightly, and he probably guessed what his friend was thinking. Of course, I had many large transactions with Brother Ling and his wife in my early years, and nothing went wrong. After saying that, he added another sentence. Brother Ling and his wife are also very powerful, and their identities are also extraordinary. I guess they were trained by some Yuanying sect. But, Brother Yan, the spiritual lands you liked before can be easily taken over by the two of us. If you invite Brother Ling and his wife again, it would be a bit of a waste. You also need to provide more resources, which is a bit wasteful. At this point, Jiamu Zhenren's eyes trembled and he said in surprise, Brother Yan, are you planning to find a spiritual land of a higher grade? Yanqing nodded lightly and said with a smile, that's right. I also trust your character. Since you said that fellow Taoist Ling and his wife are trustworthy, I will have to trouble Brother Mu to invite fellow Taoist Ling and his wife. Jiamu Zhenren said with a little worry. Fellow Taoist Ling and his wife are wealthy. The price required to invite them will probably be very high, but Brother Ling and his wife are both very strong, especially Brother Ling, whose strength is not lower than mine. If they help, it will be no problem to get a better spiritual land, but how can you defend that high-level spiritual land by yourself afterwards? In this case, the high-level spiritual land is not a blessed land, but a disaster land. Yanqing saw Jiamu Zhenren's description of the strength of Ling Pengyun and his wife, and his face was immediately happy. It's a good thing that fellow Taoist Ling and his wife are powerful. As for the high price, it's not a problem. As long as we can plan a good spiritual place, we can make up for it. As for the matter that Brother Mu is worried about, as long as my white feathered eagle can enter the golden elixir realm, everything can be solved. Master Jiamu has known Yanqing for 100 years, and he also knows that this friend who is a casual cultivator and golden elixir is a steady person. It's not good to say anything more, so he asked. Since Brother Yan said so, I will persuade you again. Brother Yan, have you chosen any high-level spiritual place? Yanqing nodded lightly, and took out a huge map from his storage bag and analyzed it carefully with Master Jiamu. While the two were chatting, the auction began, and one by one, the first-level spiritual objects of excellent quality were put on the auction table. The huge auction house was also filled with bidding sounds, and it became noisy. Chapter 741 5 Golden Elixir Spiritual Objects. Ling Pengyun and Yan Sitai, who were in another private room, also took this opportunity to spend tens of thousands of spiritual stones to buy a lot of useful things, and even bought dozens of spiritual trees. The 12 days of auctioning ordinary spiritual objects passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, it was time to auction the finale items. Those Jinan monks who were unwilling to participate in the auction of ordinary spiritual objects also gradually came to the meteorite auction on this day. However, in just half a day, as many as 100 Jinan gathered here. Among them, at least 30% of the magic Jinan accounted for. In addition, there were still Jinan monks entering the auction venue from the outside world. During the initial finale auction, there were also rare spiritual objects of the second-level upper grade, such as the Vein Protection Pill and the Foundation Building Pill. However, as the finale items were auctioned off one by one, the rank of the finale auction also rose to the third level. The two Jinan initial stage lava turtle corpses that Yanqing sent to this auction also appeared during this period. Ling Pengyun valued these two items, so he bought them for more than 80,000 spiritual stones. As for the golden elixirs of these two items, they did not appear at the auction. According to Ling Pengyun's guess, they might have been entrusted by Yanqing to Master Jiamu to help refine the elixir. Then, various elixirs, formations, talismans, and magic weapons with extraordinary effects appeared. Even the miasma-breaking pill creation purple cloud pill that Ling Pengyun and Yan Sitai had searched for a long time before, there were as many as 6 of them here, one each of the lower and middle grades of the third grade. However, these 6 pills were extremely popular because of their powerful effects and the large number of golden elixir cultivators gathered here. The lower grade creation purple cloud pill of the third grade was basically sold at a high price of 120,000 to 30,000 spiritual stones. The middle grade creation purple cloud pill of the third grade was even sold at a high price of 230,000 to 240,000 spiritual stones. Even Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai were only willing to buy 1/3 level inferior grade fortune purple cloud pill and 1/3 level medium grade fortune purple cloud pill. In this way, the two spent more than 300,000 spiritual stones, which is equivalent to the price of a third level inferior grade magic weapon that can be used for hundreds of years. This also made Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai feel distressed for a while. The spiritual stones they brought with them also dropped to more than 1.5 million spiritual stones. Among these spiritual stones, 70% were the spiritual stones they exchanged for selling several third-level magic weapons in various places over the years, and the remaining 30% were the remaining wealth of the family. Among them, 300,000 spiritual stones were the spiritual stones that the relatives Yang family asked Ling to help buy an ordinary golden elixir spiritual object in the early years, but Ling's demand for golden elixir spiritual objects was also great in recent years, so they never helped the Yang family buy it. Originally, the two of them brought more than 2 million spiritual stones in total, and spent hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones in Donghu market. After that, Ling Pengyun bought some spiritual iron for refining tools, as well as some rare third-level spiritual plants and seeds, and other spiritual objects that could be used. He spent tens of thousands of spiritual waters before he stopped and watched the auction quietly. It was not until the auction was almost over that he started bidding again when 5 third-level Humaydan and Pseudo-Jidan liquid, 3 ordinary spiritual objects, meteorite spiritual water and Jidan liquid, and a wood spirit Jidan appeared. Jidan liquid requires many main materials. In addition to golden elixir perfect demon beast golden elixir is the main material, this thing also needs to add other precious main materials. The meteorite spiritual water is a special spiritual water unique to the lineage of the meteorite true lord. It is said that this water is made from the third level lower grade meteorite spiritual fruit produced every 100 years by a fourth level nebula spiritual tree in the hands of the meteorite true lord, plus some spiritual objects. As for the wood spirit golden core that appeared this time, it was made by True Lord Meteorite with a meteorite spirit fruit that had been formed by the nebula spirit tree for 300 years, a golden core of a wood attribute golden core perfection monster, and some special high-level spiritual objects. This object is extremely powerful and can increase the probability of a cultivator with wood spiritual roots to break through the golden core by 30%. It is a rare object in the world. Even Ling Pengyun was very tempted by this object. But this object was already targeted by many major forces present, and even the golden core cultivators of other nascent soul forces. Ling Pengyun naturally would not ask for trouble and touch the bad luck of those major forces. He also made a second choice and bought 2 third-level top-grade pulse protecting pills that his family did not have, a portion of meteorite spirit water, and 2 portions of Dan-forming liquid, a total of 5 golden core spiritual objects, which cost more than 1.39 million spiritual stones. For this reason, he only had 20,000 to 30,000 spiritual stones left. Among these golden core spiritual objects, 1 portion of Dan-forming liquid was from his relative Yang family. As for the other 4 Jidan spiritual objects, Ling Pengyun planned to give a second-rate Jidan spiritual object, the vein protection pill, a common Jidan spiritual object, the meteorite spiritual water, and the Dan-forming liquid to his natal spiritual plant, the Renshu blue cloud grass, so that it could increase the success rate of the grass breaking through the Jidan stage by 25%. The remaining vein protection pill was kept, and he would use it after the furnace of pseudo-Jidan liquid that he entrusted to the true man Huayang to refine was successful not long ago. The rest of the Jidan spiritual objects at the auction were also bought by major forces at high prices, and the transaction price of the wood spirit Jidan was as high as 1.08 million spiritual stones. This also made Ling Pengyun speechless for a long time. The auction ended, and the eldest disciple of the true lord of meteorite, the true man Xinghua, also went up to the auction platform afterwards, called back the idle people, and left most of the Jidan at the auction site to hold a meteorite trade fair. Because the auction house had a quasi-4th-level breath-retaining formation to protect the private rooms in various places, Ling Pengyun could not find out how many golden elixirs were left at the trade fair. But he had a rough idea in his mind. I'm afraid that there are at least 100 golden elixir cultivators left. After that, Xinghu Zhenren, the eldest disciple of young Xingzhenjin, also took out dozens of elixirs, talismans, and formations of at least third-level middle grade or above. Among them, there was even a fourth-level formation, which attracted everyone's attention. Xinghu Zhenren also said, "This fourth-level white tiger breaking gold killing formation can only be exchanged for fourth-level spiritual medicine or materials from the Yuanying Demon King. As for the other spiritual objects of third-level middle grade or above, as long as the Taoist friends present like it, spiritual stones and spiritual objects can be traded. You can send me a price through voice transmission." Ling Pengyun was secretly shocked when he saw this scene. Everyone in the world says that True Lord Meteor is a peerless formation master. Seeing this trade fair today, I'm afraid that the rumor is true. If True Lord Meteor didn't have a fourth-level formation, I'm afraid he wouldn't be willing to exchange this rare fourth-level formation. It's just a pity that the requirements to buy this formation are too high. I'm afraid only those Yuanying forces can produce fourth-level spiritual medicines or Demon King materials. Then, Ling Pengyun began to carefully look at the dozens of third-level medium-quality spiritual objects next to True Lord Xinghu. Soon, because the spiritual objects that True Lord Xinghu took out were of very good quality, the spiritual objects he took out were also exchanged. The fourth-level White Tiger gold-breaking killing formation was even personally delivered to a private room on the fourth floor of the auction house by True Lord Xinghu. Only True Lord Yuanying or his disciples are qualified to enter the fourth floor of the auction house, and there is only one person who can let True Lord Meteor, the eldest disciple of True Lord Xinghu, personally send spiritual objects. The rest of the people who exchanged spiritual objects with him were sent to the exchanger's private room by the maids of the auction house. With such a comparison, the identity of the cultivator who bought the White Tiger broken gold array was naturally clear. It must be Yuanying Zhenjin. As for which sect the cultivator was, only Xinghu Zhenjin himself knew. Later, some precious spiritual objects appeared in this trade fair, and Ling Pengyun also exchanged them with some spiritual objects that he didn't need. After a full day, this trade fair ended. Ling Pengyun and Yan Sidai also left the auction house through the secret passage arranged by the meteorite auction house and returned to the inn where they lived in the market. The two of them planned to avoid the limelight of this auction and leave this place to avoid unnecessary trouble. After all, they spent nearly 2 million spiritual stones at the meteorite auction this time. This amount of spiritual stones is extremely huge, and even those large giant forces in the boundless Xiuxian world may not be able to take it out. It is enough to make a group of giant forces excited. If the Ling family had not seized several giant forces and risked their lives to sell most of their high-level spiritual objects for spirit stones, it would have been difficult to come up with this amount of spirit stones. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 742, The Treasure Refining Fire Pond. But less than half a day later, a sound transmission talisman suddenly entered the inn where Ling Pengyun and Yan Sidai were, breaking the tranquility of the place and landing beside Ling Pengyun. After Ling Pengyun raised his hand and sent a spiritual power into the sound transmission talisman, the voice of Jiamu Zhenren was heard. "Brother Ling, let's go to the private room on the third floor of the largest tea house in the Meteoric Star Market. I have something important to discuss with you and your wife." At this time, Yan Sidai, who was meditating on the side, was also startled and woke up. Ling Pengyun hesitated for a moment, then called Yan Sidai, and together with her, dressed in black clothes and wearing black veils, left the inn and rushed to the Meteoric Star Tea House. Through a tea house servant, they successfully met Jiamu Zhenren in a private room on the third floor. Yam Qing was also here. "Brother Mu, fellow Taoist Yan, I wonder what important matter you are looking for us for." Ling Pengyun slightly arched his hands to Jiamu Zhenren and Yan Qing, and then asked. Upon hearing this, Master Jiamu's face became more solemn. He then raised his hand and set up a third-order lower-grade breath-retaining formation around him, and also set up a soundproofing band around him. "Brother Mu, why is there such a big battle?" During this time, Ling Pengyun saw such a big battle and couldn't help asking. To be honest, Brother Yan has recently been planning to occupy a third-tier spiritual vein in the Meteorite Sea, establish a family power, and continue his own bloodline. But the meteorite sea has long been fully developed, and the spiritual veins here all have owners. If you want to occupy one of them, you can only kill its owner. And Brother Yan has set his eyes on Dantian Island, the headquarters of Dantian Palace, a mid-level giant force in the East Sea of the Meteorite Sea. There is a third-tier medium-quality spiritual vein on it. There are as many as 5 giant cultivators in the Dantian Palace. 2 of them are in the middle stage of the giant, and 3 are in the early stage of the giant. It is difficult for Brother Yan and I to handle them, so we have come to Brother Ling and you and plan to ask for your help. At this time, Yan Qing, who had never spoken, also pleaded with Ling Pengyun and his wife. As long as you two agree to this, after we destroy Dantian Palace, I will give you 40% of the spiritual objects in the Dantian Palace warehouse, all the classics and techniques of Dantian Palace, and the complete third-level alchemy inheritance of this sect. Ling Pengyun and Yan Xie frowned when they heard this. They knew that the meteorite sea was different from other seas, and they could directly seize the spiritual veins with their strength. But this was not a good thing after all. Once the seizure failed, no one would care even if they were beaten to death. The risk factor of this matter was also very high. At this time, Yan Xie also sent a message to Ling Pengyun. Husband, we just spent nearly 2 million spirit stones at the meteorite auction not long ago, and we were at the peak of our popularity. No matter whether what Brother Mu said is true or false, we should not leave the market. And the profit share offered by Yan Qing is even more useless to us. According to the warehouses of the giant forces, such as the 10,000 Beast sect and the Zhuanyang sect that we destroyed in our early years, the warehouses of the Dantian Palace must also be filled with a large number of low-level spirit objects that are difficult to sell in a short period of time. Even if we can get 40% of the profits, it is simply difficult for us to sell them and cash them in a short period of time. You know, among the large number of low-priced spirit objects obtained when the family destroyed the forces in the early years, nearly 70% have not been sold. Under this circumstance, even if we get 40% of the spirit objects in the Dantian Palace warehouse, they are just some useless things. I am afraid that we will not be able to convert them into spirit stones in our remaining lifespan. When Ling Pengyun heard the words in his mind, he probably understood what Yan Xie meant. What he was thinking in his mind was exactly the same as what Yan Xie was thinking. He turned his head and smiled at Yan Xie, then he declined to Master Jianmu and Yan Qing. You two, it is already extremely difficult to destroy a giant force, let alone destroy a giant force like Dantian Palace with 5 giant masters. The meteorite sea was established only more than 300 years ago, and the Dantian Palace has such a scale, which is extremely unusual. I'm afraid, before the meteorite sea was established, this palace already had some foundation in other seas. Maybe it was supported by the powerful righteous forces in other seas. If that's the case, this palace must be very involved behind the scenes. To put it another way, even if it's not the case, I think this palace has some good relations with some forces around the meteorite sea. The 4 of us are not giant masters of the meteorite sea, so it's difficult for us to use our own power to involve other forces. In this case, if we can't destroy the Dantian Palace in a short time, the Dantian Palace may also call on friends, and then the 4 of us unfamiliar giant will be in danger. Therefore, I hope Brother Mu and fellow Taoist Yan will forgive you too. My husband and I can't agree to this. If Taoist Yan really wants to establish a power, you might as well wait for some time to see if there will be a war in other seas. Then Taoist Yan, you can join them and fight for those Yuanying forces to gain military merits. With Taoist Yan's cultivation, it should not be difficult to exchange a high-level spiritual vein from those Yuanying forces and establish a family. This is a relatively safe matter, and the risk factor is safer than the destruction of the Dantian Palace you proposed. Upon hearing this, Master Jianmu sighed helplessly. He also knew that what Ling Pengyun said was true. If it weren't for the bottleneck that he had fallen into the peak of the 6th level of the Golden Core, it was the time when he needed a large number of spiritual objects, otherwise he would not have risked his life and accepted Yan Qing's invitation. And Ling Pengyun was his good friend, so he couldn't force Ling Pengyun to join in this matter. He stopped talking and turned his gaze to Yan Qing beside him. When Yan Qing saw Master Jianmu's expression, he knew that he couldn't invite Ling Pengyun and his wife without spending more money. But he has always been a loner. Apart from Jianmu's Hunren, he is only familiar with a few scattered cultivators. If he invites those scattered cultivators to participate in this matter, It will definitely cost more. Maybe the spiritual veins of Danyang Palace will be divided to those scattered cultivators. By then, there will be more forces within the territory he occupies. Yan Qing naturally does not want to see such a situation. Moreover, spiritual veins are all treasures that can produce a steady stream of spiritual objects. Therefore, Ling Pengyun and his wife, who are suspected to be from the nascent soul forces and have a rich family, and Jiamu Zhenren from Muing and Xianzong, are both Yan Qing's best partners. Jiamu Zhenren only wants spiritual objects, not spiritual veins. In addition, Jiamu Zhenren once said that Ling Pengyun and his wife are extraordinary. He was ruthless in his heart and gave up his interests again. You too, I am willing to give you two Taoists an additional 10% of the profits in the Danyang Palace's warehouse, making a total of 50%. I think you can also get spiritual objects worth millions of spiritual stones. Ling Pengyun still didn't care when he heard this. No matter how many low-priced spiritual objects he had, it would be difficult for him to exchange them for spiritual stones. If it was 1,000,000 spiritual stones, he would naturally be tempted. Then, he refused. Taoist Yan, my wife and I really can't help you. Let's get together and reminisce when we have a chance in the future. After saying that, he didn't want to stay here any longer, and turned around with his wife Yan Siyi to leave the private room. Yan Qing was also anxious when he saw this. The territory under the command of the Danyang Palace he had taken a fancy to this time was huge, occupying a total of 500,000 miles of territory, with more than 3,000 spiritual veins and a third-level middle-grade spiritual vein. If he could turn it into his own, this batch of land could bring him at least 60,000 spiritual stones of pure profit every year. Even if he had to pay some spiritual stones to the true Lord of Meteorite, he could still have about 30,000 to 40,000 spiritual stones left. These are spiritual stones, not spiritual objects. As long as he gets this land, the Yan family he is going to create will have enough talents in the future and will not worry about not being prosperous. And he just happens to have a son who is a double spiritual root cultivator, with a half chance of entering the golden elixir realm, which can be regarded as a talent. The Yan family will also have a touch of prosperity in the future because of this son. Thinking of this, Yan Qing said with a painful look on his face, "As long as you two agree, I am willing to give you a third-level lower-grade treasure refining fire pool that can refine fire-attributed magic weapons by yourself." Chapter 743 Two-Year Agreement. Ling Pengyun and Yan Siyi, who had just walked to the door of the private room, and Jiamu Zhenren, who was also in the room, were all shocked when they heard the words refining treasure fire pond. Yan Siyi, who specialized in fire-attributed exercises, became even more excited. The refining treasure fire pond is a special spiritual pond, but the effect of this pond is different from that of ordinary spiritual ponds. This pond is only associated with a fire spirit vein and can absorb the pure fire spirit power scattered from the fire spirit vein and convert it into the magical refining treasure fire spirit liquid. This spirit liquid can refine the quality of magic weapons, even the quality of the natal magic weapon. You must know that in ordinary times, it is extremely difficult to change the quality of magic weapons. You need to collect various high-level spiritual materials and then rely on advanced refiners to recast before you can have the chance. And it is even more difficult to change the quality of the natal magic weapon. The quality of the natal magic weapon has long been fixed. If you want to change its quality, you can only indirectly improve the quality of the natal magic weapon by improving the exercises that are of the same origin as the natal magic weapon. However, any book of cultivation contains a vast amount of knowledge of cultivation, which cannot be improved by ordinary people. Even Ling Pengyun, the most talented member of the Ling family, cannot do it. His talent is only enough to improve some secret techniques. Under such circumstances, this treasure refining fire pond is particularly important for Yan Siyi, who mainly practices fire-based cultivation and has a fire-based life magic weapon. Ling Pengyun also knows this truth. Yan Siyi is his wife. If Yan Siyi's life magic weapon can be improved with the help of the treasure refining fire pond, it will also be of great help to him. In addition, this treasure refining fire pond is extremely rare. There are only a few in the entire northern wilderness cultivation world. Then, Ling Pengyun turned around and said to Yan Qing, "Is what Aoyao said true?" Seeing Ling Pengyun asking this, Yan Qing's face was less painful, and instead, his face was more happy. He also spoke at this moment. "Of course it is true. If it is false, I dare not say it." As long as you two help me seize the territory of Dantian Palace afterwards, I can tell you the location of the spiritual pond. But if you two want to take away the spiritual pond, you can only find a reliable third-level formation master to move it with the formation. After saying that, he also made a heavenly oath in front of Ling Pengyun, indicating that he did have a treasure-refining fire pond. Seeing this, Ling Pengyun also believed a little that Yan Qing had a rare treasure-refining fire pond. If you have that spiritual pond, the quality of Madam's top-level middle-level life magic weapon, the Mandarin Duck Fire Cloud Pot, will have the hope of being upgraded to the best. By then, Madam's strength can be improved by at least 10% or 20%, and Penqiu, who also specializes in fire attribute skills and has a fire attribute magic weapon, can also benefit from it. Thinking of this, Ling Pengyun had a trace of concern in his heart, and then he asked Yan Qing, I naturally believe that you have the refining treasure fire pond, but since you have such a treasure pond, you must also have a third-order fire vein. Under such circumstances, why do you have to take such a big risk to capture the treasure land of Dantian Palace? Besides, even if you really want to establish a family, there are no other low-level spiritual veins around the fire pond. According to your cultivation, although it is difficult to buy a third-order spiritual vein, you can go to the outside world to buy a second-order spiritual vein to establish a family. At that time, you can completely turn the fire vein into a foundation. Isn't it more stable to have one light and one dark? And even if you take a step back, if you sell the fire vein and the fire pond to a big force, it is estimated that you can also get a large area of land. The refining treasure spirit pond is a companion to the fire spirit vein. Where there is this pond, there must be a fire spirit vein. Yan Qing sighed and told the truth. Fellow Taoist, you may not know that I mainly cultivate gold spiritual roots, and the techniques I practice are also of gold attribute. Fire and gold conflict with each other, which makes it difficult for me to use the spiritual energy from the third-level fire vein for cultivation. I also don't have a lifelong magic weapon with fire attribute, so the fire pool for refining treasures is actually of little use to me. At most, I can only use the fire spiritual vein to plant some spiritual plants, and use the fire pool to purify the quality of some ordinary fire magic weapons and sell them. And the stable method that Taoist just mentioned is not something I have not thought about, but it is extremely difficult to continue a family in the world of cultivation in this way. It is even more difficult to develop and grow to the point of having the foundation of a golden elixir force and having enough self-protection power. First of all, it is necessary to ensure that there are golden elixir cultivators in every generation, and develop for nearly 1,000 years, so that there is hope to accumulate the foundation of a golden elixir force. But if I follow this stable method and develop slowly, how can I have enough resources to support my descendants to enter the golden elixir realm stably? And once our clan loses a giant and cultivator, it will be difficult for our clan to turn things around and accumulate the foundation for giant and power. The rest of the forces in the immortal cultivation world will not want to have one more enemy in this world. In the future, our clan will inevitably be trapped in the foundation building power, and it will be difficult to improve. There may even be a risk of being destroyed. As for the sale of that third-tier fire vein and the treasure refining fire pool, how many spirit veins can I get in exchange? Under such circumstances, how can this cruel immortal cultivation world allow me to develop steadily and step by step? I can only take a gamble and directly occupy the third-tier or mid-grade spirit vein of the Dantian Palace and the more than 3,000 low-level spirit veins of this sect, and then seize the inheritance of this sect, so that I can get it in one step and have the foundation to establish a giant in power. Thereby, the force I build will have enough strength to continue in this immortal cultivation world, so that my bloodline will not disappear from this immortal cultivation world, and my opportunity will not become a wedding dress for outsiders. When saying this, Yan Qing's face also showed a hint of determination. After hearing these words, Ling Pengyun agreed with Yan Qing's point of view, and the slight worry in his heart disappeared. Seeing Yan Qing's determined face, he knew it would be difficult to persuade Yan Qing to attack Dantian Palace. Then, Ling Pengyun looked at his wife Yan Siai, and after communicating with her through voice transmission, the two of them also reached a consensus. He spoke again. Fellow Taoist, Yan's thoughts are indeed comprehensive, and I was presumptuous just now. And Dao Yao's determination also makes me admire it. I can agree to attack Dantian Palace together. But, it will take 2 years. If Dao Yao agrees to this condition, 2 years later, my husband and I will do our best to help Dao Yao destroy Dantian Palace. And if Dao Yao does not agree to this condition, then forget it. Yang Qing frowned when he heard this, and a look of hesitation appeared on his face. The spiritual fruit of Danyang Palace will mature in the next 2 or 3 years. If I delay for another 2 years, I'm afraid I will miss that opportunity. But, without the help of fellow Taoist Ling and his wife, it will be difficult for Brother Mu and I to destroy Danyang Palace. After a few breaths, he sighed and replied. Okay, 2 years is 2 years. But fellow Taoist Ling, Madam Ling, the division of property must be agreed upon. After the matter is completed, you can only get the treasure refining fire pond. As for the property in the Danyang Palace warehouse, the Danyang Palace's skills and other benefits, you will not be able to share them. And if this fails, everything will be empty talk. No matter what the losses are, I hope fellow Taoist Ling and his wife will not blame me. Ling Pengyun nodded. Of course. Then, he said goodbye to Yan Qing and Master Jiamu, and left the tea house with his wife Yan Siai and returned to their residence. Master Jiamu and Yan Qing, who were still in the tea house, also said goodbye to each other not long after. 2 years is not a short time, enough for them to do a lot of things, so they naturally won't stay here for long. Especially for Jiamu's Henren, who is in such an important position as the teleportation hall of Muiyun Market, it is difficult for him to leave for a long time. Time passed slowly. The 4 seasons rotated. In a blink of an eye, the meteorite auction, which is held once every 300 years, has been a year away. And in this year, many things have happened around meteorite market. Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai, who are in meteorite market, have heard that many monks who bought expensive spiritual objects at the meteorite auction have disappeared in the past year. Or the life tablets kept in the hands of relatives have been broken and died inexplicably. What's more, some monks have seen dozens of battles between Jindan's Henren in various places in the meteorite sea in the past year. The entire meteorite sea is also filled with a layer of haze. Many forces in the meteorite sea have closed their doors and no longer see guests to avoid accidents. The meteorite sea has also fallen into depression. However, as time went by, the meteorite sea gradually regained its vitality, and the popularity of the auction a year ago gradually declined. Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai, who spent a lot of spiritual stones at the auction, also knew that now was a good time to leave, so they did not delay any longer. They chose to leave the inn where they lived one night and left the market through the teleportation array of the meteorite market. With the help of the teleportation arrays built by other Jindan forces in various medium-sized markets in the meteorite sea, the two quickly arrived at the westernmost border of the meteorite sea. Then, Ling Pengyun took out the spiritual beast Black Armor Turtle and rode the turtle with Yan Siai to enter the Qingshi Mountain Sea that stretched for tens of millions of miles. This time, they planned to send the Jindan spiritual objects back to the family as soon as possible, and then return to the meteorite sea to help Yan Qing destroy the Danyang Palace and seize the spiritual land. Therefore, they were in a hurry, so they planned to take this somewhat dangerous shortcut again. After a month, it was very smooth and Ling Pengyun and the others did not encounter any danger. The black-shelled tortoise also traveled 1/3 of the distance, crossing a territory of nearly 10 million miles. Chapter 744, True Lord Meteorite plans the 4th level spiritual vein. But on this day, a huge spiritual power fluctuation suddenly came from the depths of Qingshi Gangfeng. The thin spiritual energy in this area and even the Qingshi Gangfeng that constantly invaded the earth all rushed to the depths of this desperate place. This change startled Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai, who were sitting on the back of the black armored tortoise. They then opened their eyes and looked at the depths of this Qingshi Gangfeng desolate land. Husband, how come this looks a bit like the spiritual energy filing the body when the spiritual vein breaks through the great grade? Yan Siai frowned and said, it is indeed a spiritual body filing the body. Judging from the scale of this spiritual energy filling, I am afraid that the spiritual vein that is breaking through the realm has at least attracted spiritual energy from millions of miles or even tens of millions of miles around. And it must be that only when those 3rd level spiritual veins try to break through the 4th level can they make such a big noise. Ling Pengyun frowned and said when he saw the scene in front of him, hasn't the nearby Donghu Immortal Sect and the cultivators under the command of True Lord Meteorite already discovered that there are not many 3rd level spirit veins here, and they are all 3rd level lower grade spirit veins? In that case, how can those 3rd level lower grade spirit veins here skip several small realms and have the opportunity to directly break through to the 4th level, Upon hearing this, Yan Sai's face was filled with surprise, and at the same time she became a little confused. This is indeed a strange thing. However, this area is a strange place in itself. The Wuji Gangfang has changed into the more powerful Qingshi Gangfang because of the water vapor in this vast sea. Maybe there are some special opportunities here. I just don't know if the spiritual vein that is breaking through can successfully enter the 4th level. And this time, the spiritual vein that is breaking through is located deep in this Wuji Gangfang Sea. It is bound to have given birth to a core demon spirit and some ordinary demon spirits due to the terrain of this sea. Once this spiritual vein enters the 4th level, the core demon spirit associated with this spiritual vein will surely receive the spiritual energy feedback after the spiritual vein is promoted. Perhaps the core demon spirit will also have a chance to impact the nascent soul realm in one go. But I think that the Donghu immortal sect, the overlord of the Donghu Sea around this Jedi, and the Yongxing Zhenjin lineage, the overlord of the Yongxing Sea, will not sit idly by and watch this matter. I'm afraid it won't be long before the Yuanying Zhenjin of these two families will arrive. This place is bound to be in chaos. Madam, we are only at the level of Jindan, so we should not get involved in this matter. Let's leave here quickly. Ling Pengyun frowned as he looked at the depths of this desperate place. After saying that, he put away the black armored turtle under his feet, and began to perform the escape technique, taking Yan Sai with him to fly towards the direction of Donghu Xianzong. The speed of the Blue Sea escape technique he mastered was extremely fast. If he used this technique with his full strength at the peak of the 5th level of Jindan, he would be able to burst out at a speed comparable to that of a late Jindan cultivator, and could travel nearly 1,000,000 miles a day, more than twice as fast as the black armored turtle. However, this consumes more spiritual power, which is not conducive to long-term travel in such an environment. If it were not for the emergency now, Ling Pengyun would not have resorted to this desperate measure. On the 2nd day after the demon spirit in the depths of the Wuji Gangfang Sea attracted the spiritual energy to infuse its body, a stream of light quickly flew from the Donghu Sea into this sea area. But in just half a day, this escape light crossed tens of millions of miles of territory and arrived at the island deep in the Qingshi Wuji Gangfang Sea, where the 4th level spiritual vein-induced spiritual energy infusion phenomenon was located. But at this moment, a thin middle-aged man wearing a purple Taoist robe with star patterns and black hair fluttering in the surrounding wind suddenly appeared in the void. He also blocked the stream of light. The stream of light also revealed a figure, revealing an old monk with white hair, wearing a Donghu Xianzong Taoist robe, and a fury-like appearance. The old monk looked at the thin middle-aged man in front of him, his face uncertain. After half a breath, he spoke. Dao Yongxing, why are you blocking me? Once the wind spirit vein on the island enters the 4th level, the consequences are known to you and me. If a nascent soul demon spirit is born here, it will be difficult for us to kill it in the future. The thin true Lord Yongxing wearing a starry robe said this without any expression on his face. Dao Donghua, the spirit vein on the island is what I cultivated, and the demon spirit is also my spirit beast. If you are willing to watch the 3rd level upper grade spirit vein I cultivated break through the 4th level, then watch carefully. If you dare to make any move, don't blame me for not considering our friendship. As soon as he finished speaking, a majestic aura spread out from this person and pressed on the old body of the true Lord Donghu. The true Lord Donghu felt this aura and his face suddenly turned black, and he was secretly shocked. The peak of the 6th level of the nascent soul. It seems that it is true as the rumors say, this person will soon enter the late stage of the nascent soul. And this person has only been in the Tao for more than 600 years, and at least 400 years of life are left. I am afraid, this person will have a chance to explore the perfect state of the nascent soul in the future. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt a little frustrated. He was more than 300 years older than the true Lord of Meteorite, more than 900 years old, but his cultivation had only just entered the middle stage of the nascent soul 100 years ago. His strength was at least 50–60% lower than that of the true Lord of Meteorite. Once he fought with him, he was no match at all. However, he was just not an opponent. If he wanted to escape, the extraordinary true Lord of Meteorite would find it difficult to stop him. Now that the true Lord of Meteorite was so impolite, he naturally refused to accept it. He snorted coldly and fled far away. As he left, he was also thinking in his mind. The layout of the Meteorite kid is really big. He has quietly cultivated a 3rd level upper grade wind spirit vein under my nose, and is about to help the spirit vein enter the 4th level. If the spiritual energy drawn by this spirit vein was not too huge, and the meteorite kid seemed to use the power of the formation to gather the strong wind of the entire Qingshi Gangfang area to the spirit vein, otherwise I don't know how long I would be hidden by the meteorite kid. And the meteorite kid is a 4th level formation master. If this person is not sure about helping one of the spirit veins to enter the 4th level, I am afraid he will not expose this place. It seems that this person is sure about the promotion of the spirit vein. But once the spirit vein enters the 4th level, I am afraid that the core demon spirit accompanying the spirit vein will also enter the nascent soul realm soon. By then, the side of the meteorite true lord will also have as many as 2 nascent souls. The rest of the Gangfang monsters in this Wuji Gangfang Sea will surely be taken in by the true lord meteorite. This area will probably be named meteorite in the future. By then, there will be no Qingshi Wuji Gangfang Sea as a buffer zone between Ardonghu Immortal Sect and the Meteorite Sea, and there will definitely be constant unrest on weekdays. And judging from the current cultivation level of True Lord Meteorite, in the future, my sect may be in danger. We still have to cultivate a Yin-Yang True Lord as soon as possible, so that our sect can have the ability to resist the lineage of the Kid Meteorite. Thinking of this, he no longer thought about it, and instead, he used all his strength to perform the escape technique to leave this place, so as to avoid the True Lord Meteorite's dirty hands. True Lord Meteorite was born as a casual cultivator, and he was extremely fierce throughout his life. It is said that there are 2 or 3 Yin-Yang demon kings who died in his hands. He is a very ruthless person. True Lord Donghua, who was born in a sect, was naturally a little afraid that this True Lord Meteorite, who was born in a wild way, would not be moral. Chapter 745, Rinshu Blue Cloud Grass enters the Golden Elixir Realm. On the other side, deep in the Qingshi Wuji Gangfang Sea, seeing that Donghua's engine was walking away and was indeed not near here, True Lord Meteorite retracted his gaze and turned his gaze to the spiritual vein deep in the Qifeng Island that was breaking through the cultivation level. His eyes gradually glowed with brilliance. Now, the fact that the spiritual vein here was cultivated by me has been spread. With my reputation, ordinary people probably won't come here. Those old monsters above the late Yin-Yang stage are all in seclusion, and it will be difficult for them to come out of seclusion in a short time. This place is probably not disturbed again. Now, it depends on whether the great formation I set up to create veins by taking advantage of the situation can help the wind spirit vein here enter the 4th level. The great formation to create veins by taking advantage of the situation is a 4th level formation that can create veins by taking advantage of the terrain. Previously, the spiritual energy that was drawn to this sea area was indeed drawn by the spiritual energy of the wind spirit vein in the island. However, the Gangfang in the sea area was all drawn by the great formation to create veins. Moreover, with the help of the endless strong wind in the sea area, the probability of the spiritual vein entering the 4th level can be extremely high. Time passed slowly. In a blink of an eye, it has been 9 days since the spiritual energy infused into the body caused by the promotion of the wind spiritual vein. With the help of the large formation of the vein, the wind spiritual vein also successfully condensed the spiritual vein core, thereby triggering a piece of calamity cloud, and in 3 days, 12 powerful calamity thunders fell. However, on the Fengayan Island where the spiritual vein was located, there were 3 large formations of the 4th level, the lower grade, and 1 large formation of the 4th level, the middle grade, which blocked the calamity thunders one by one for the spiritual vein on the island. These 4 formations are all the belongings of the true Lord of Meteorite. For this reason, 2 of the 4th level, the lower grade formations were directly damaged by the calamity thunder. When everything was settled, the calamity cloud in the sky also turned into a piece of nectar, which moistened the wind spiritual vein on the island. At this moment, the wind spirit vein officially entered the 4th stage, and a 4th stage breath spread out from it. Then, the spirit vein began to spread out the gentle and pure wind spirit energy in the body crazily, nourishing all directions. The barren Fengayan Island suddenly became full of vitality, and countless tender grasses quickly grew out of the land. Seeing this, True Lord Meteorite was delighted. He immediately took out the array plate of the great array of taking advantage of the situation to create the veins, and with the help of the great array on the island, he controlled the pure spirit energy fed back by the spirit vein to be poured into the body of a Qingshi Gangfang demon spirit with a perfect golden elixir on the island. In an instant, the breath of this demon spirit soared rapidly. After more than 10 days, This demon spirit with a deep foundation successfully condensed the nascent soul, and with the help of the array on the island, it survived the thunder tribulation and turned into the nascent soul demon spirit king. True Lord Meteorite raised his hand and called it in front of him. Looking at this demon spirit king, his face was full of joy. 300 years of hard work have finally paid off. Although this demon king is not very powerful, with the help of the Kishiwuji Gangfeng here, I'm afraid it can fight even a second-level nascent soul cultivator. A third-level nascent soul cultivator will find it difficult to kill it. Perhaps only a middle-stage nascent soul cultivator can pose a threat to it. In this way, with the help of this demon king, my strength can be enhanced a little. In addition, this demon has entered the 4th level and is no longer restricted by the spirit veins. It can move around freely in the outside world. And because of the special nature of this demon, as long as there is water vapor to help, its strength will not be weak. Under this circumstance, I should also expand the meteorite sea to the demon clan, occupy more territory, and collect more spiritual objects to help improve my cultivation. It's a pity that the boundless Qingshi wind in this area is still too weak. At most, it can only help the wind spirit vein here to upgrade to the 4th grade lower grade. If this spirit vein wants to be upgraded again in a short period of time, it can only expand the broken voids in the sea area and attract more Kishiwuji wind here. By then, the cultivation of this demon spirit emperor will be higher and his strength will be stronger. The face of True Lord Meteor gradually showed some madness. Half a year later. Northern Wilderness Cultivation World. Yam State. Deep in the Taoling territory, in the Taoyin Valley with a 3rd grade middle grade lightning vein. Ling Pengyun sat cross-legged on a flat ground, and in front of him was a blue spirit grass with a dazzling light. This spirit grass was his highest cultivation life spirit plant Renshu blue cloud grass. After an unknown period of time, a huge spiritual power fluctuation suddenly erupted from the body of this grass. The spiritual energy within tens of thousands of miles around was attracted and rushed into the body of this grass. Seeing this, Ling Pengyun raised his lips slightly. I finally helped this grass to condense a trace of solidified spiritual power, and triggered the phenomenon of spiritual energy filling the body. Next, I will help this grass to condense Yimu crystals. Thinking of this, his face also became more solemn. 4 spiritual herbs such as Renshu blue cloud grass that were refined into their own spiritual plants by the spiritual plant husband, or other spiritual trees and spiritual medicines, the difficulty of breaking through the Jade realm is several times higher than that of ordinary spiritual plants breaking through the Jade realm. Not only is Yimu crystal more difficult to condense, but the power of thunder tribulation is also greater. Even if Ling Pengyun has given a portion of ordinary Jade spiritual objects, meteorite spirit water, a portion of Dan-forming liquid, and a portion of the second-rate Jade spiritual object, the 3rd grade upper grade pulse protecting pill, to the Renshu blue cloud grass for refining, he can use his own spiritual power to help this grass condense Yimu crystals. And this grass has previously been improved by the Yunnan and Yang Taichu Qi to improve its consciousness and meridians in the body, but it only has at least a 45% probability of entering the Jade realm. There is at least a high probability of failure. Ling Pengyun put all his thoughts aside and focused on the Renshu blue cloud grass. At this moment, he also transferred his spiritual consciousness into the body of the Renshu blue cloud grass to help the grass refine the huge spiritual energy that flowed into its body and purify it into solidified spiritual power. The Renshu blue cloud grass had the help of the Yin-Yang Taichu Qi in its early years. As early as when it entered the foundation building stage, its spiritual wisdom had been greatly opened. It was also like an ordinary cultivator, able to refine the spiritual energy in its body by itself. Now, Ling Pengyun, a cultivator with a strong spiritual consciousness in the late Jade stage, helped. However, in just 1 month, the solidified spiritual power in the body of the Renshu blue cloud grass reached its limit. With the help of Ling Pengyun, it also tried to condense the Yimu crystal with the solidified spiritual power in its body. However, this step was extremely difficult. Even with the help of Ling Pengyun, Renshu blue cloud spent a full 8 days, and only then did it successfully condense the Yimu crystal in its body on the eve of the spiritual energy filling the body phenomenon. At this time, thunderous clouds appeared in the sky. This cloud had been brewing for a long time, and then it dropped a powerful thunderbolt that was comparable to the full force of a cultivator at the peak of the 1st level of the golden core. However, This thunderbolt was blocked by the third grade upper grade thunderbolt destruction formation of the Treading Cloud Valley, and dispersed by the power of the formation, slowly passing it into the body of the Renshu blue cloud grass to temper the grass's physique. The same was true for the subsequent two thunderbolts. Its physique had also reached its current limit, and it had a physique comparable to that of a demon beast at the first level of the golden core. The remaining 6 thunderbolts were all blocked by the thunderbolt destruction formation. The cloud in the sky also turned into a piece of nectar, which fell on the Renshu blue cloud grass and moisturized it. At this moment, the breath of this grass officially entered the golden core realm. A huge golden core pressure also emanated from this grass. Chapter 746, The Power of Renshu Blue Cloud Grass. Then, the leaves of the Renshu Blue Cloud Grass, which was only about 3 inches high, grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a moment, the grass soared to a height of 1 foot. The blue color of the grass also became deeper, and blue light continued to flow on its surface. Even Ling Pengyun, who was standing next to it, could clearly feel that the grass contained an extremely strong and majestic pure spiritual power. This spiritual power was enough to be comparable to about 50% of his spiritual power. The Renshu blue cloud grass is an auxiliary spiritual plant that can provide spiritual power to its owner Ling Pengyun when necessary. Moreover, because this grass and Ling Pengyun are of the same origin, the spiritual power it passes to Ling Pengyun is also extremely gentle, and is the same as the spiritual power that Ling Pengyun has cultivated himself. It will not cause Ling Pengyun to injure his meridians like swallowing spiritual power restoring things such as hulang pills. In this way, the Renshu blue cloud grass can also restore as much as 50% of Ling Pengyun's spiritual power at one time. This was of great help to Ling Pengyun during the battle. Moreover, Ling Pengyun's current cultivation level was as high as the 5th level of the golden core, while the cultivation level of the Renshu blue cloud grass was only the 1st level of the golden core. This situation also made Ling Pengyun happy. At the same time, he was also somewhat fortunate. Fortunately, with the help of the Yin-Yang Taichu Qi, even if this Renshu blue cloud grass took a pill-type golden core spiritual item protecting veins pill, it was lucky enough to condense a medium-quality Yimu crystal, and then make the spiritual power stored in the body more pure. Otherwise, if this grass only condensed a low-quality Yimu crystal, I'm afraid that with this grass current cultivation level, it can only provide me with 30% of the spiritual power at most. In the remaining 6 years of the Monster Rebellion, I have to use the 3rd level cultivation spiritual water collected over the years as soon as possible to help this grass break through its cultivation level. If this grass can go further, the spiritual power contained in this grass will definitely be more, and it will help me more. Ling Pengyun secretly planned. Over the years, Ling Pengyun has been preparing for the path of his own spiritual plan after breaking through the golden elixir. He has also spent hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones to search for dozens of bottles of 3rd level cultivation spiritual water, which is enough for any spiritual plant to improve 1 or 2 levels of cultivation in a short period of time. The spiritual water is extremely pure and can be refined in a short period of time to replenish the cultivation. At this moment, as a breeze blew, the 3-foot-tall Renshu blue cloud grass shook slightly. A wave of spiritual consciousness then rippled out of the grass and sent into Ling Pengyun's sea of consciousness. A speech with excitement, but difficult to hear, like a child's babbling, also appeared in Ling Pengyun's sea of consciousness. Master, I finally comprehended the art of spiritual consciousness into language, and I can communicate with all things. Ling Pengyun heard this, and his face was even more happy. When this grass was building its foundation, it was already on the verge of comprehending this technique. After entering the golden core, its spiritual consciousness was enhanced, so it was normal for it to comprehend this technique in a short period of time. The art of spiritual consciousness turning into words is actually the art of sound transmission, but spirits like spiritual plants call it this way. Spirits have low intelligence, and it is difficult to comprehend this technique when they are practicing Qi and building their foundation. Only after entering the golden core and surviving for 1,000 years, they can accumulate and slowly comprehend the spiritual consciousness, and then they have the opportunity to comprehend this technique. In the past, the Renshu blue cloud grass, which had its spiritual intelligence greatly opened up with the help of the yin and yang Taichu Qi, did not comprehend this method. At most, it could only use the spiritual consciousness to roughly express its own situation or mood. Whether it can understand the meaning of this spiritual plant depends entirely on the tacit understanding between Ling Pengyun and it. It is also worth mentioning that among the Ling family's third-level spiritual trees or spiritual fruit trees, except for the third-level middle-grade Zhuanyang fruit tree obtained from Zhuanyang sect in the early years, which has comprehended this method and can communicate with people, the other spiritual trees have never comprehended this method. The frost spiritual tree that can fight independently and is praised by the Ling family as the spiritual tree that protects the clan, because it condenses the middle-grade Jiamu crystal and is a spiritual plant that mainly fights. It has extraordinary comprehension. It will not take long for it to comprehend the magic. Although this art of spiritual consciousness into language can only establish communication with people and has no other functions, it actually symbolizes that the spiritual intelligence of the spiritual plant has reached an extremely high level. The spiritual plant that can comprehend this art will have a bright future and strong strength. After all, the spiritual plant with high spiritual intelligence can also practice much faster, and it is easier to comprehend other magics. Of course, only the spiritual plant that has been tamed by the cultivator will think about comprehending this method after entering the golden elixir. For example, the spiritual plants in the gathering places of monsters generally do not spend time to comprehend this method, but will save time to comprehend those magic methods with offensive power to protect themselves. However, the spiritual plants tamed by the cultivators comprehend this method of spiritual consciousness into language, and can establish communication with the cultivators, which is also a way to protect themselves. As for the monsters speaking human language, it is another secret method. Different races have different secret methods. Then, Ling Pengyun also congratulated Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass and asked it, "After your realm is upgraded, has your blood awakened the spiritual energy circulation root of the Golden Core realm? The spiritual energy circulation root of spiritual plants and monsters is inherited by blood." "Got it, and it is complete, enough for me to cultivate to the Golden Core Perfection realm." Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass's voice once again entered Ling Pengyun's sea of consciousness. "That's good. Prepare for spiritual energy to feed back." Ling Pengyun nodded lightly, his expression condensed. At this moment, he also kept pinching his hands to condense a series of seals, and then injected them into the body of the floating Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass. The Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass suddenly flashed with spiritual light, and suddenly spread out a special Dao rhythm. A majestic, but somewhat unknown, pure spiritual power also gushed out of the grass and poured into Ling Pengyun's body. This grass was sacrificed by Ling Pengyun to become his life spirit plant. The two were like one body, and the spiritual power between them was also from the same source. In this way, the spiritual power poured into Ling Pengyun's body by this grass was the same as the spiritual power cultivated by Ling Pengyun himself. Ling Pengyun did not dare to delay time, and immediately sat cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes, and practiced a Blue Sea Sutra to mobilize the spiritual power fed back by the Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass, and tried to break through the bottleneck of the peak of the 5th level of the Golden Core together with his own spiritual power. This bottleneck was originally like a dam, and it was no problem to block the impact of Ling Pengyun's own spiritual power. However, with the help of the spiritual power fed back by the Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass, Ling Pengyun's body was like a large river of water pouring into it. The bottleneck dam naturally had some difficulty in resisting the impact of the flood from the two rivers. However, in just a few breaths, the bottleneck dam began to shake. After another half a month, 70% of the bottleneck dam was covered with cracks. However, the spiritual power in the body of the Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass was almost exhausted. If there is no help from the Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass, there is no hope for me to break through this bottleneck at once. I can only consume some of the Yimu essence in this grass. Ling Pengyun sighed in his heart, and then he took out 2 glass bottles filled with purple liquid from his storage bag. After thinking for a while, thinking that Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass had already comprehended the art of spiritual consciousness into words, and its intelligence was comparable to that of ordinary cultivators, and it was able to refine elixir-like spiritual objects by itself, he took out 2 more medicine bottles. The 2 medicine bottles contained the 3rd-level Hulang pill. The other 2 glass bottles contained the 3rd-level medium-quality heaven and earth spiritual water, which could assist in cultivation. Ling Pengyun had spent a lot of money to buy them at the auction not long ago. Before, due to its intelligence, Rinchu Blue Cloud Grass was extremely slow in refining even pure spiritual water like spiritual objects. The speed at which this grass wanted to refine elixir like spiritual objects was even slower. Even the spiritual power obtained from refining elixir was much less than the medicinal properties of the elixir that was lost in the outside world when refining the elixir. After Ling Pengyun opened the caps of the 2 medicine bottles and the 2 glass bottles, he instructed the Renshu blue cloud grass. Quickly refine it into spiritual power, and then pass that spiritual power to me. Chapter 747 3 Happinesses. Although the Renshu blue cloud grass now has intelligence, it still listens to Ling Pengyun very much. I saw 4 of its leaves slide quickly and first stuffed into the 2 medicine bottles containing huling pills, wrapping and refining them with spiritual power. Due to the special nature of huling pills, in just a short moment, the 2 pills turned into infinite spiritual power and filled the empty Yimu crystals of the Renshu blue cloud grass. However, these spiritual powers are not the power of the Renshu blue cloud grass itself after all. Some of them are violent and difficult to pass to Ling Pengyun. They still need to be refined. In the next moment, its body burst out with a strong wave of plant essence. The sluggish appearance on its body caused by excessive consumption of spiritual power is also recovering rapidly. If you use your spiritual consciousness to explore its body, you can find that this grass is now using the Yimu essence in its body, which is as important as the blood of a cultivator, to refine the huling pill spiritual power in its body in just a moment. In contrast, the Yimu essence in the body of this grass is also rapidly consumed. However, this grass did not care about these things. It was only focused on refining the violent spiritual power in its body and passing it to its master Ling Pengyun. As its master, Ling Pengyun was particularly distressed that this grass consumed the essence of Yimu. If this grass consumed too much of the essence of Yimu in his body, it would affect the progress of his cultivation and even cause his realm to fall back. For this reason, he also put all his efforts into mobilizing his own spiritual power and the spiritual power of Renshu blue cloud grass to madly attack the bottleneck. Half a month passed in a flash. Renshu blue cloud grass not only consumed the medicinal power of the 2 huling pills, but also consumed the 2 bottles of heaven and earth spiritual water suspended in front of it. The spiritual light on its body also dimmed a little, and its breath also had some real but invisible appearance, which was a bit strange. Ling Pengyun, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, frowned even more, without a trace of distraction. I don't know how long it took, but there was a sudden sound of breaking from the golden pill position in Ling Pengyun's abdomen. His breath, spiritual power, and consciousness also grew rapidly at this moment. When the abnormality stopped, a pressure of the 6th level of the Jade realm suddenly spread out from his body. Ling Pengyun also opened his eyes, and a smile appeared on his face. This 6th level of the Jade realm is indeed extraordinary. My spiritual consciousness and spiritual power have increased by 40% to 50%. I am afraid that my current spiritual power is enough to match the 8th level of the Jade cultivator, and the stronger spiritual consciousness may be able to match the 9th level of the Jade cultivator. At this time, the Renshu blue cloud grass beside him floated to the ground in front of Ling Pengyun and congratulated him. Congratulations, Master, on your further progress on the path. Ling Pengyun heard this, looked at the Renshu blue cloud grass and smiled, and said, "This is also thanks to your contribution. You have worked hard. Let me see how much Yimu essence you consumed this time." After saying that, he mobilized his spiritual consciousness to pass into the body of the Renshu blue cloud grass, and the Renshu blue cloud grass did not stop him, which also allowed Ling Pengyun to quickly explore the situation inside it. Fortunately, only 20% of the Yimu essence was consumed this time. With the help of the many spiritual waters I prepared for this grass earlier, this grass should be able to recover within half a year. Ling Pengyun felt a little more fortunate in his heart, and then he secretly planned again. The appointment with Brother Mu and Taoist friend Jianqing is imminent, so I can only postpone the use of the pure Yimu essence in this grass to comprehend the spiritual plant. At this time, a plump figure ran in from outside the treading cloud valley and stopped beside Ling Pengyun, revealing the figure of Yan Sai. Then she congratulated Ling Pengyun. "Recently, it is really a double happiness. My husband's life spirit plant has entered the golden elixir realm again, and my husband's cultivation has been able to break through again. It is really a good thing that comes in pairs. I am here to congratulate my husband." When Ling Pengyun heard what his wife Yan Sai said, and suddenly noticed that Yan Sai's breath had changed, the joy on his face was also a little more. "It's not a double happiness, it's a triple happiness. Madam, have you forgotten that you have broken through to the 4th level of the golden core? What a happy event. Yan Sai laughed 3 times. Ha ha ha, yes, it's a triple happiness. A few months ago, when Ling Pengyun brought the Rinchu blue cloud grass to retreat in the Taoist Valley, Yan Sai took a 3rd level lower grade miasma breaking treasure pill, the creation purple cloud pill, which she and Ling Pengyun bought at the meteorite auction, and went to retreat in the 3rd level upper grade spiritual mountain Bayun Mountain in the Bayun Mountains deep in the Bayun Mountains. Half a month ago, Yan Sai successfully broke through with the help of this miasma breaking treasure pill, and entered the 4th level of the golden core. However, this breakthrough was after all with the help of the elixir, which made Yan Sai's cultivation a little weak now. It takes at least 3 or 4 years to consolidate before she can absorb spiritual energy to improve her cultivation. Afterwards, Yan Sai and Ling Pengyun chatted about things related to their cultivation, and then they talked about business. Madam, your cultivation is a bit superficial now, and it is not easy to fight for a long time, otherwise there is a risk of your cultivation falling back. Now that I have successfully entered the 6th level of the golden core, my strength has been improved, and I have the help of the Rinchu blue cloud grass, so this trip should not be too dangerous. You can stabilize your cultivation in the family, and I will go alone to do what I agreed with Taoist Yan Qing and others. Ling Pengyun said. No, the atmosphere in the meteorite sea is quite fierce, and such a big event as destroying a force is even more dangerous. Although my realm is superficial now, I have at least the 4th level of the golden core cultivation, and my strength is not weak. As long as I don't fight for a long time, my cultivation will not be at risk of falling back. I must go this time. Yan Sai said firmly. Ling Pengyun was a little surprised to see Yan Sai like this. In the past, Yan Sai had never overturned his decision. However, he felt warm in his heart. He naturally understood why Yan Sai did this. Since you have such a heart, I will not persuade you anymore. However, a 2-year agreement is too early. After saying that, Ling Pengyun raised a sly smile on his face. Then, he put away the Rinchu blue cloud grass, took another step forward, picked up Yan Sai and entered a cave he had opened deep in the valley, and set up an isolation formation here. If you look through the formation, you can hear laughter coming from the cave. The master of the treading cloud valley, the thunder rat, was like a house dog at this moment, crawling at the entrance of the treading cloud valley, with a puzzled look on his face, and he looked in the direction of the treading cloud valley from time to time. The phenomenon of the cultivation of the ancestor Ling Pengyun has stopped. Why haven't he and his wife left the valley yet? It really delayed my cultivation. Thinking of this, its eyes glowed with brilliance. This is an excuse. When those 2 ancestors come out, I can try to get some money from them. If I can get another 3rd grade lower quality beast spirit pill, it would be a godsend. Thinking of this, it closed its eyes and began to meditate. Chapter 748, Thunder Rat Ambition. A few days later, a strange sound suddenly came from the valley, startling the lightning rat that was meditating outside the valley. It immediately opened its eyes, and when it saw Ling Pengyun and his wife finally leave its home, it was delighted, and immediately stood up and ran over on all fours. Then, the rat smiled and said, Brother Ling is really a genius. I didn't expect that you would break through to the 6th level of the golden core so quickly. I really envy you. I'm afraid that within 100 years, you will reach the Yuanying Avenue. When I see you again, I should call you Henjin. Mrs. Ling is getting more and more beautiful. She is really a fairy from heaven, as beautiful as the moon and the flowers. Ling Pengyun and Yan Sai couldn't help but smile when they heard the rat's compliments. However, Ling Pengyun, who knew his nature, interrupted him and said with a smile, What are you going to do this time? The lightning rat was interrupted, but he didn't care. He still spoke with a happy look. Brother Ling. Recently, I have encountered some bottlenecks in my cultivation. Brother, please be kind and provide some resources to help me. When my cultivation breaks through again, I will definitely come to thank you with a heavy gift. Ling Pengyun was amused by the rat. He laughed a few times and then spoke. I knew you didn't have good intentions. With your little wealth, what good things can you give me to thank me with a heavy gift? The smile on the face of the lightning rat froze when he heard this. It was looked down upon by the lightning rat clan in its early years, and the lightning rat clan didn't give it anything. It really didn't have anything good on it. If not for this, it wouldn't have come to Ling Pengyun to ask for money. However, the thick skin it was born with made it speak again. Brother, you have to believe me. I don't have any other abilities, but I have a very good nose. I have found many good things in the treading cloud forest over the years. When my cultivation level increases, I will definitely go to the boundless vast swamp and find some precious things for you. Ling Pengyun said with disdain. I know your strength. If we talk about escaping, there are indeed few monsters of the same level that can compare with you, but if we talk about strength, I'm afraid you are at the bottom of the same level. What's the difference between asking you to go to the boundless vast swamp to find spiritual objects for me and asking you to die? Get out of my way, don't block the way for my husband and me. Honestly, guard treading Cloud Valley for me, don't do anything to me. If there's an accident here, you can't think of eating my Ling family's salary anymore. After saying that, he and Yang Cie performed the escape technique and flew away from here. The lightning rat looked at the figures of Ling Pengyun and Yang Cie leaving, wanting to cry but without tears. However, it was not like this because of Ling Pengyun's words, but because it did not beat Yu Fen. This world is getting harder and harder to survive. In the future, how can this rat turn over and return to the lightning rat clan to be the king and dominate? This rat has been working so hard to improve its cultivation, intending to return to the lightning rat clan one day to be proud and dominate this clan, and trample under the feet of those lightning rat demon kings who looked down on it and sent it to such a dangerous and suicidal treading cloud forest. After a long while, the lightning rat retracted its gaze, and then it walked into the treading cloud valley with powerlessness. 1 year later. The Immortal Cultivation world in the Boundless Sea. Deep in the Meteorite Sea, in a private room on the 3rd floor of the Meteorite Tea House in the Meteorite Market. Yang Qing stood in front of a window here with an anxious look on his face, his eyes constantly scanning the crowd on the market street, as if looking for someone. It's been more than half a month since the 2-year agreement. Why haven't fellow Taoist Ling and his wife come yet? If fellow Taoist Ling and his wife decide to go back on their decision to help me destroy Dantian Palace, and thus miss the ripening period of the spiritual fruit on Dantian Island, it will be a disaster. Yang Qing was worried. Then, anxiously, he asked Master Jiamu, who was sitting in the corner of the private room. Brother Mu, do you really have no other way to send a message to fellow Taoist Ling and his wife? Upon hearing this, Master Jiamu slowly opened his eyes, a bitter smile appeared on his face, and he said helplessly. Brother Ling and his wife have always been strange. I have always communicated with them using communication talismans. When they have something to do, they usually go to Muiyuan Market to find me. It is difficult for me to find them, and I can only rely on chance. However, Brother Ling and his wife have always kept their promises. This time, perhaps they encountered something and it is difficult for them to get away in a short time. After saying this, Jiamu's Henren saw Yan Qing's anxious face and thought that Yan Qing was afraid that Ling Pengyun and his wife would spread their plan for Dantian Palace, so he spoke out. And Brother Yan, don't worry, Brother Ling and his wife are not the kind of people who will betray their friends, and they will definitely not reveal that we want to destroy Dantian Palace. Even if it is worse, we can't do anything to Dantian Palace at most. By then, Dantian Palace will have no way to find fault with us. Yang Qing heard this, but he couldn't say anything, he could only sigh. 2 more days passed, and Yang Qing was still standing by the window of the private room, looking at the market street. But at this moment, the door of the private room was suddenly knocked. Yang Qing and the sitting Jiamu's Henren were both startled. Before, they had told the tea house waiter not to disturb them. In doubt, Yang Qing also waved his hand and sent out a spiritual power to open the door of the tea house. Suddenly, 2 monks in black clothes, who had no breath and were as hard as a stone, and a tea house waiter appeared in front of Yang Qing and the others. At this time, the tea house waiter bowed to Yang Qing and Jiamu's Henren and left the place tactfully. And one of the taller black-clothed men also spoke at this moment. I'm sorry to have kept you two, Brother Mu and fellow Taoist Yan, waiting for a long time. My wife and I are far away in other seas this time. We had planned to cross the Qishu Gangfang Sea to come here, but we heard that the power of the Qishu Gangfang in the Wuji Gangfang Sea has increased several times, and True Lord Yangxing has also cultivated a nascent soul demon spirit king in it, which has greatly increased the strength of the demon spirit clan in that sea. The demon spirits are still cruel and extremely hostile to cultivators. They will attack as soon as they see a cultivator. That place has turned into a Jedi. Even if a cultivator with a perfect giant enters it, there is a risk of being destroyed. Therefore, my wife and I dare not take this shortcut again. We can only bypass the Kishiwuji Gangfang Sea and reach the Yongxing Sea from other demon seas. In this way, it takes some more time to travel. When Yan Qing and True Lord Jiamu heard this, they immediately knew the identities of Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai. Previously, they had not detected the breath of Ling Pengyun and his partner, so they did not dare to confirm their identities. Yan Qing was delighted, and the anxiety in his heart immediately dissipated. However, he was shocked. Just now, he had been staring at the market street to search for the figures of Ling Pengyun and his wife. Ling Pengyun's cultivation was unfathomable, and he could understand that he could walk around under his nose without being discovered. But Yan Siai's cultivation was not high. Even if Yan Siai used the breath-hiding technique, he could easily see through this person a year ago. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for Yan Siai to walk under his nose without being discovered. Could it be that Mrs. Ling's cultivation has entered the 4th level of the golden elixir? If so, it would be a good thing. In this way, the probability of us destroying Danyang Palace can be greater. However, we also need to be on guard against these two people. Yan Qing thought to himself. However, despite his thoughts, he still had a bright smile on his face, and then he greeted Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai. It's good that you two Taoist friends are here. Please sit down, drink some hot tea, and take a rest. Ling Pengyun and Yan Siai, who were wearing black clothes and black veils covering their bodies, nodded slightly, then walked into the private room, sat at the tea table in the private room, and chatted with Yan Qing over tea. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749, Evil Cultivator appears. A few days later. Meteorite Sea. Deep in the Danyang Sea, there is an island covering tens of thousands of miles. This island is shaped like a fish. It is called Yanghe Island. The highest mountain on the island is called Yanghe Mountain. This mountain has the only quasi-3rd level spiritual vein in this small sea area. Because of the high spiritual energy in the mountain, the flowers and plants are particularly lush. There are some monks in Taoist robes working in dozens of acres of spiritual fields halfway up the mountain. The top of this mountain is shrouded in clouds and mist, but through the clouds and mist, you can see that there is an acre of rare 3rd level spiritual fields here, in which a large number of precious 3rd level spiritual plants are planted. In addition, there is a magnificent cave here. In the cave, there is a young monk with extraordinary momentum, brows and Danyang Palace Taoist robe sitting cross-legged. But at this moment, the storage bag on his waist suddenly flashed a spiritual light. The young monk was also startled, and he opened his eyes. He patted the storage bag on his waist and took out a broken mother-child talisman. Looking at the talisman, the young monk frowned. Why is the talisman of Danming Island broken? Then, he began to recall. The one who is in charge of Danming Island is Senior Brother Yang, whose cultivation is as high as the perfect foundation building realm. There are dozens of palace monks stationed on the island, and a quasi-3rd level defense formation has been set up by the palace. Even a giant monk would find it difficult to destroy it in a short time. And the island is near the Yanghe Island where I am in charge. How could anyone dare to provoke this island? Could it be those brainless monsters? After thinking about it for a long time, this person stood up and left this cave, and turned to use the escape technique that only giant monks can master, and flew away. Danming Island is a large island with dozens of 1st-level spiritual veins and one 2nd-level high-quality spiritual vein. It can bring a lot of spiritual plants to Danyang Palace every year. Danyang Palace also attaches great importance to that place, so it sent a veteran foundation building perfect cultivator to sit there. Danming Island is not far from Danhu Island, and soon a young man arrived near Danming Island. Suddenly, he saw that the huge Danming Island was covered by a huge light curtain. Outside the island, there was another cultivator with a pseudo-Dan aura, wearing black clothes and a black veil, who was constantly bombarding the light curtain, causing waves to rise. Seeing this, the young cultivator suddenly had countless murderous intentions on his brows. I thought it was a demon beast, but I didn't expect it to be an evil cultivator at the initial stage of the golden core. With this person's cultivation level, it's no wonder that he dared to set his sights on Danming Island under my palace. However, can my Danming Palace be easily provoked? A mere early stage of the golden core is not enough. Then, the young man took out a communication mirror from his storage bag and passed a stream of spiritual power into it. An old face also appeared on the mirror. "Danjing, what do you want to see me for?" The old face spoke. The young man named Danjing called Yi your master and told the old cultivator about the matter of Danming Island. "If it is as you said, there is a giant and evil cultivator, I'm afraid that the evil cultivator is the same as the other places in the meteorite sea that have been robbed by cultivators recently. They are all disguised as giant and cultivators who participated in the meteorite auction 2 years ago, intending to take advantage of the situation." At this point, the old cultivator's brows also became a little more ruthless. "Since the attack has come to our Dantian palace, let's kill this man. It just so happens that the spiritual fruit of the sect is about to mature. If we use the corpse of the giant and evil cultivator as an offering, it can also speed up its maturity and improve its medicinal properties. Danjing, hold that giant and evil cultivator for me." As soon as he finished speaking, the face of the old cultivator disappeared. The young cultivator named Danjing took out several magic weapons and killed the black-clothed giant and early-stage cultivator who was attacking the island. After a few breaths, when Danjing's Henrin approached the black-clothed giant and early-stage cultivator thousands of miles away, the black-clothed giant and early-stage cultivator seemed to have discovered Danjing's Henrin, and his body quickly retreated, and took back the magic weapon that attacked Danming Island, and turned to attack Danjing's Henrin who was coming to kill him. But this person's cultivation was weaker than that of Danjing's Henrin, and he only had one magic weapon for attack, and the others were just prototypes of magic weapons. In contrast, the 3 magic weapons that Danjing's Henrin used were all of the 3rd level realm, and were extremely powerful. As a result, before the two had even exchanged a few moves, the black-clothed giant fell into a disadvantage. At this time, the face of the old foundation building perfect cultivator who presided over the island protection formation on Danming Island was also full of ecstasy. "If you can help junior brother Danjing this time, it will be an honor for us to kill the evil giant and cultivator." Then, this person controlled the island protection formation and transformed into a light curtain that trapped the enemy, trapping the black-clothed giant who was in danger. "If you dare to touch my Dantian palace territory, you will pay with your life." When Danjing's Henrin saw this scene, his murderous intent increased a little more, and his offensive became more swift and fierce. And the black-clothed cultivator was also beaten back step by step. After several hours, from the depths of the Dantian Sea, 2 beams of golden elixir light flew in quickly and entered the battlefield. The figures of 2 people also appeared, one old and one middle-aged. The old monk was the one who had communicated with Danjing's Henrin using the communication mirror before. This person's cultivation level was as high as the 6th level of the golden elixir realm. The other middle-aged monk was 8 feet tall, strong, and had red hair on his head. His aura was as high as the 5th level of the golden elixir realm. This thief is indeed at the golden elixir realm. With this thief's body, the effect of the precious fruit of the sect will be greatly enhanced. The old monk at the 6th level of the golden elixir realm looked at the black-clothed golden elixir monk trapped in the formation, his eyes full of brilliance. The strong, red-haired middle-aged golden elixir, at this moment, had a look of fighting spirit on his face, and greeted Danjing's Henrin who was attacking the black-clothed golden elixir in the distance in a rough manner. "Junior brother Danjing, I haven't taken action for many years. Let me practice with a black-clothed golden pill." After saying that, the man's physique suddenly grew to 3 feet tall, and his skin turned into iron, like a steel giant. At this moment, a black light flew out from his golden pill and landed on his right hand, turning into a huge mountain-splitting axe that was 1 or 2 feet long. The man then held the axe with both hands, stepped hard into the void, and turned into a black light and shadow, and directly killed into the light curtain that trapped the enemy. He used the huge axe in his hand to fiercely chop the magic shield light curtain around the black-clothed golden pill, causing a huge roar. The light curtain supported by the magic shield of the black-clothed golden pill also seemed to be unable to withstand the blow, and began to shake, and waves were also rising on it. Chapter 750, The Dead Souls Under the Sword. The Danjing's Henrin who had been fighting with a black-clothed giant, looked at the steel giant who was laughing wildly, attacking in a savage way, and constantly swinging his giant axe to bombard the black-clothed giant, and smiled with a little envy. Uncle Danjing's physical cultivation ability is stronger than it has been for decades. I'm afraid it will be much stronger. I'm afraid that soon, Uncle Dan Gang will be Light Master and enter the realm of the 6th level of Jinden. Then, he also called back the magic weapon and handed the battlefield to the 5th level Jinden physical cultivation, named Dan Gang. The old Jinden who had not taken action flew to the side of Zhenren Danjing. The two of them also watched with interest of physical cultivation's Zhenren Dan Gang, slaughtering the black-clothed Jinden monk. At this time, the face of the black-clothed Jinden under the veil had a more playful look. I thought I could only catch those Jinden early-stage cultivators from Daniyang Palace, but I didn't expect that the Palace Master, Daniyang Old Monster, and Dan Gang's Zhenren, are here. Now, there are probably only 2 Jinden early-stage Zhenren left in Daniyang Palace, which has 5 Jinden Zhenren. Under such circumstances, Brother Mu and fellow Taoist Yan, who are veteran Jinden middle-stage cultivators, can easily deal with Daniyang Palace. And there are no other Jinden cultivators coming here, so it's time to close the net with Madam. In just a moment, the aura of this black-clothed Jinden suddenly soared to the realm of the 6th level of Jinden. This person was Ling Pengyun. After crushing a token, he raised his hand and summoned magic weapons of at least a 3rd level middle grade from his storage bag, and even several 3rd level upper grade magic weapons. The next moment, these high-level magic weapons overwhelmingly hit Dan Gang's Zhenren, who was close at hand. Oh no, this is a trap. Dan Gang's eyes trembled. In a moment, he had no time to react before he was hit by a huge blue iron bead heavy magic weapon. A gravity also came with it, and his body flew backwards and slammed hard on the surrounding light curtain that trapped the enemy. The light curtain that trapped the enemy was aroused by a huge wave, and even several cracks were smashed by him. He lived up to his extraordinary momentum just now. A large part of his chest, like steel, was dented. His arms also drooped down. There were some blood stains at the corners of his mouth, and his face was particularly pale. Obviously, the attack just now caused him to suffer a lot of injuries. It's rare to be able to withstand the attack of my high heavy yuan pearl containing 1,000,000 pounds of power. However, this person's physique is quite strong, and he is a good material for refining a demon corpse. Ling Pengyun, who was dressed in black, looked at Dan Gang with interest and muttered to himself. Then he mobilized several high-level magic weapons around him and rushed towards the Dan Gang Master. The Dan Gang Master was also an experienced Taoist. At this critical moment, he even used a defensive physical skill to prop up a defensive light curtain and sacrificed dozens of 3rd-level defensive talismans to temporarily block the attack. However, it was only temporary. The magic weapons Ling Pengyun sacrificed were extremely powerful, and the defensive methods of Dan Gang Master were easily resolved. At this moment, Ling Pengyun's eyes flashed with a black starlight. The sound of a chain collision that touched the soul suddenly appeared in the sea of consciousness of Dan Gang Master. The next moment, his sea of consciousness was firmly trapped by countless black chains, making it difficult for him to use other defensive methods to resist the attack. It was during this moment of distraction that Ling Pengyun had sacrificed his life spell blue sea sky sword to break his hard body with one sword and cut off the man's head. Then, the jade sea sky sword, which still had a lot of power left, was also under the control of Ling Pengyun. It directly hid a big hole in the light curtain of the island protection formation that trapped the enemy. Ling Pengyun also flew out of it. At this time, the Danjing Zhenren not far away and the master of Daniyang Palace, Daniyang Old Monster, saw the powerful strength displayed by Ling Pengyun, and they all showed astonishment. Countless fears also appeared in their hearts, and even the Daniyang Old Monster was not surprised. Although the cultivation of Dan Gang's Zhenren was only the 5th level of Jinden, which was 1 point weaker than him, Dan Gang's Zhenren was a body cultivator, and his strength was not much weaker than him. Even Dan Gang's Zhenren died at the hands of Ling Pengyun, so how could he have a chance of survival? Without thinking too much, Daniyang Old Monster turned around and fled. At the same time, he also said to his disciple Danjing Zhenren, "Danjing, help me stop that powerful enemy." Seeing this, Danjing's face suddenly darkened. He was only at the 2nd level of Jinden. If he was left behind, how could he have a chance of survival? But now, Ling Pengyun had already killed him, and Daniyang Old Monster had run away again. He had no chance of escape at all. He could only choose to use magic weapons to resist the attack to avoid being killed here. However, with his strength, how could he escape the hands of Ling Pengyun, the killing god? After just a few dozen moves, this person followed the footsteps of Dan Gang's Zhenren and was killed by Ling Pengyun here. After Ling Pengyun waved his hand and put the property on this person and his body into the storage bag, he smiled and looked at the Dantian old monster who had escaped thousands of miles away. This old monster is really ruthless. He can even abandon his fellow disciples. He runs very fast. Unfortunately, it's all in vain. At this moment, a wave suddenly appeared in the void thousands of feet ahead of where Dantian old monster was escaping. A cultivator who was also wearing black clothes and a black veil suddenly appeared in the void. Under the veil on the cultivator's face, a faint female voice came out. Wouldn't it be good to become the soul of my husband's sword? Why do you have to come to me to die? Before the words were finished, Dantian's Henren saw the female cultivator pinching her hands and transforming into a huge flaming demon wolf with a rhyme of Tao. It's actually a magical power. Dantian's Henren's eyes were shocked, and he quickly took out a defensive magic weapon around his body. But at this moment, he saw another shocking scene. The female cultivator suddenly summoned 5 black coffins. As the sound of opening the coffins rang out, 5 demon corpses in the early stage of the golden core suddenly jumped out and killed him. At this moment, the female cultivator also offered various extraordinary magic weapons. How? There are so many golden elixir demon corpses. Dantian old monster looked incredulous, and could not believe the scene in front of him. But the reality was like this. As an alchemist, his combat power was not strong. Even though he was extremely wealthy and the master of Dantian Palace, and had taken out many high-grade magic weapons, he still could not escape the disaster. Ling Pengyun, who came slowly, and Yamsai worked together to easily kill him here. Madam, has your realm changed? After Ling Pengyun put away the property of Dantian's Henren, he saw that Yansai's aura was fluctuating. He frowned and asked Yansai. It's still under control, and it hasn't reached the point where the realm has fallen back. Yansai replied. Ling Pengyun nodded lightly and put his mind at ease. Then he looked at Danming Island with a bit of contempt. Madam, there are quite a few Dantian Palace monks on that island. If they are not eliminated, there may be trouble. Your realm is not stable, and you have experienced a war. I will deal with the monks on that island. You can help me to calm down. After saying that, Ling Pengyun sacrificed his own magic weapon to attack the protective formation of Danming Island. Although Yansai did not use the magic weapon, she also controlled the 5 demon corpses around her with her spiritual sense to help Ling Pengyun. When she was still in the early stage of Jinden, her spiritual sense was limited, so she only sacrificed 3 demon corpses in the early stage of Jinden. However, after her cultivation increased greatly and entered the middle stage of Jinden, her spiritual sense also increased. In order to improve her combat power, Ling Pengyun also handed over the 2 demon corpses in the early stage of Jinden to Yansai. As for the demon corpses above the middle stage of Jinden, even the Ling family has fewer now. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.